Welcome to the October 28th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Southampton Planning Board. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021 until January 15, 2022, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. So may I have a roll call, please, Gloria?
Chairman LaFaro.
Present.
Vice Chair Fitterty.
Yeah, I'll be right back with another laptop.
Yeah.
I hear somebody's voice. Is that Dennis?
No, that's coming from Claire, I think.
Okay.
Yep, sorry about that. I'm muted now.
Okay.
Vice Chair Fitterty is not here. The secretary is present. Board member Zuccarelli.
Present.
Board member Long.
Present?
Board member Catalinato.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join in for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
And to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
justice for all. Any minutes, Gloria?
We do not have any.
Okay. So let
Charles,
me read the
I'm sorry,
required.
Madam Chair. Charles is
sorry.
like Dennison
Let's
is
see.
having an issue. Thank you.
I had
I
trouble
don't
getting it
actually-
also.
I don't see Dennis. I see Jackie, but not Dennis.
Dennis, if Dennis can hear you, just go out and come back in. That's what I had to do
Just
twice.
tell him to raise his hand. Or raise your hand, Dennis.
Yeah, he could
I
hear
don't
you.
see him though.
Can you hear him?
No, I can't
No.
see him or hear him. I don't see his name.
I don't either, yeah. Maybe he'll go out and come back in. That's what I had to do. Okay, let me just read the required text. We have a full agenda on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as applicants and their representatives, will be participating via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments allowed during our daytime meetings, nor is it appropriate for the public to use the chat function to comment on applications. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. If you're having difficulty accessing the meeting, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the legislation, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be available to the public. Okay. With that, is Lori Wilshire here?
1 second. Lori is here. She's coming in now.
Okay, so then we'll go out of the afternoon session and into a work session on 1970 Montauk Highway. Jackie, that's your application. So you can give us an overview.
Sure.
Lori.
Mr. Armin is on this call as well, if you could let him in.
Armin,
Mm-hmm.
what's the last name?
B.
Armin, please raise your hand.
Something's
Belova.
going on here.
It's Armin Belova.
If he would just raise his hand, that would help, because it's not listed as Armin Belova.
Jackie, are you doing that to the screen?
Yeah, I was trying to bring up my,
Just
Can you
Just
see the
give us a heads up that you're going to be doing that.
Oh, I apologize. It had logged me out of my desktop, so I was logging back in. Sorry.
Any update on Dennis, Charles?
He's not on the list.
It's an open mic that is causing a lot of disturbance.
Yeah.
Really bad. I don't know if it's coming from the planners or one of the board members, but there's a lot of background noise.
Yeah.
It's quite disturbing.
Wow.
I feel like it might be
I took care of
Lori.
it. I took care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Lori's microphone.
Oh,
Okay, I'm just wondering if somebody in the,
Can I give
Anthony,
you Armin's cell phone number?
That doesn't help me.
he has to dial in. Anthony, can you give, pop an email to Dennis and ask him what the problem is?
Sure.
Thank you.
This share screen has to be stopped so I could access.
Jackie, can you take down the script? Thank you.
I couldn't click on the link to get in today. I actually had to copy and paste it
I
into the
couldn't-
browser.
Yeah, I couldn't get in either.
I had no problem. All I did is go to Zoom and type in the numbers.
Okay, I accessed it from Patty's link.
Yeah, I don't use the link at all. I never have.
I just used Patty's link. I just hit the URL and everything went perfectly.
Yeah,
Good.
I write the numbers down on my agenda, and so I just open up Zoom and type it in. And I
Great.
never had a problem.
Would you guys like me to introduce the work session?
Yeah, please.
But there's still a lot of background noise.
Okay, are you all seeing the aerial?
Yes,
Okay, so this is the subject property right here. I'm sure most of you are familiar. This is the Bridgehampton Commons Shopping Center. So this is a existing restaurant just to the west on the north side of Montauk Highway. They are impacted by wetlands, and here's a more zoomed in aerial photograph for you. So they have existing parking. The restaurant is in here. Currently, this is a garage and permitted with a CC, seasonal workforce housing for the restaurant, which is located on site. And it's my understanding that this is in disrepair. The applicant is before you today with a request to convert that garage area into a takeout. Let's see, sorry, I was trying to find the site plan. So you can see here, this is the garage on the site plan. This is the limit of the existing parking area. This is the pond. And they're asking if, wanted to discuss with the planning board, the conversion of the garage to a takeout area associated with the existing restaurant. So it would be the same food that is prepared in the restaurant, but make it easier for people to come and pick it up from the garage area. Lori can actually explain the applicant's request further, but that is the main gist of the work session request and discussion today.
what about the housing, staff housing?
Yeah, the staff housing exists in the back, so they are asking to make that a permanent year-round use. Thank you for reminding.
and what's the name of the restaurant right now?
Armin and Judy.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay,
Lori.
Good,
Lori,
hi. Hi, so yes, this came up during COVID, but people don't necessarily want to be walking into a restaurant to get their takeout food. And at the same time, it's disruptive to the restaurant to have people coming in to get takeout food, even when it's not COVID. So the thought was to have the takeout there's a counter in the garage, which would be the perfect setup for pickups for takeouts. And then the cottage is existing, but it's in very bad condition. It's seasonal only. It does have a kitchen. It does have a bathroom. We'd actually like to enlarge it, but that's going to be difficult with the wetlands. So if we can only rebuild what we've got, that would be terrific. And then, of course, we'd be doing the covenants and such that are required pursuant to 330-154, and using it in accordance with that code section for the housing for restaurant employees.
So Lori,
Which, by the way, is a desperate need right now for this business.
Lori, the takeout is not permitted in the code in this area.
So what I was told was that,
Told by whom? If you
I
could just-
was speaking to Jackie about this yesterday. So, my other notes. So, yes, no, I'm aware that it's not, although I don't think it's actually worded as takeout. I think it's worded as like an accessory retail use, because Dennis had weighed in on this. And that's not what they're trying to do, not an accessory retail use, just a takeout use.
Yeah, so just to clarify, restaurant takeout is not permitted as an independent use in the OD zoning district. There is a current restaurant, obviously, and there's customarily a takeout portion of that. There's no definition on what that is. But, you know, this is why we wanted to bring it to the planning board to discuss this. It is not permitted. I think talking to the interim chief building inspector would be a recommendation that I would have to you, Lori, so that we can have a determination from the chief building inspector on this regarding that being used as an accessory takeout area, but a
So
separate.
Would you send that letter to Art, or would we be doing that?
You would contact him. I'd be happy to sit in on the meeting, though.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with this site, Lori. I've been here.
Uh-huh.
And there are two issues. I see that they had lots of takeout this summer.
Yes.
I've actually taken stuff out. You just go inside and pick it up by the bakery. It's a very active takeout.
Mm-hmm.
The parking lot is very constrained. So in my view, this would be a substantial impact of people coming and going to pick up, to try to maneuver around that parking lot, which can't be expanded because of wetland setbacks. So though it's ambitious and I'm sure that there's a need, I think it's a very difficult ask. I don't know how the rest of the planning board feels. Jackie, you were there on a site visit yesterday.
I was, yeah. And, you know, the existing parking lot is restrained. I was discussing with Claire that, you know, but one of the things is during an admin approval, we got rid of some of the parking in the front, which is definitely a good thing. But we do have limited parking here because of the wetland setbacks that you can see regarding the pond. So it is limited how much we can expand. So I think, Lori, also what we need to work on is we need to work on how much existing parking is there and what amount of legal parking we can show on the site plan. That would be very helpful to see because obviously right now it's a little informal gravel parking area.
Well, the parking area was addressed in the last planning board review for this site. I think it was an admin.
Did it distinguish how many?
It did, yes.
Okay, all right, so I'll take a look at that.
Yep, that would be great.
Can I ask what the ask is for today? Because I'm hearing we're asking.
It's a discussion. It's just a discussion about the viability of it.
Well, you need a.
Jackie, I don't know that. I think you have to have a conversation with this board before you go to a chief building inspector for determination.
Well, I think
There's no doubt that this takeout will enlarge. It's already very, very active in the summer months. People parking all along the street.
Not across the street, not across the street, on the street, just right over here, take a left, you'll see a white building, it's got the white right here.
I don't know what that is.
Can we mute everyone and then open it?
Yeah, just give me 1 second, please.
I just hit the mute button.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jackie,
yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
The parking would be predicated on the seats in the restaurant. And if this really becomes a second use, if that's what the building inspector says, then don't we have to do a parking calculation for that second use?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm not sure, I will discuss further with Claire how the admin parking was reviewed and how many there was. I also think this may have a pre-existing C of O, which sometimes means that at the establishment of the restaurant, there might not been a code compliant parking situation as well. But that's why I'd like to see how many parking spaces there were on the admin approval, and then also see if there's any flexibility to add additional parking.
Can you tell us about an admin review? I mean, I don't remember an admin review on this Armin Judy application.
There was an administrative review, yeah, that was done previously. I requested the file, but I don't have a scan of the site plan right here. But
this has been a restaurant for many years, but it was renovated for this particular restaurant. The front of the restaurant is nicely designed. There's sculptures, landscaping. So I don't know what you're talking about from an admin parking.
The administrative site plan review is the one that removed the parking from the front and allowed for the facade adjustments, I believe, to the current operating restaurant. But what I'm saying is I'm not sure if we ever had conforming parking here based upon the restaurant existing for quite some time. So I'll look at that and we can get back to you.
Okay, Lori, so there are some constraints and difficulties here.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Can I
please?
ask a question? Once Jackie looks up all this, are we going to have another work session?
Well, let's see what we can find, Lori, and let's review this further.
Okay, because the fallback, I believe, if we were not able to do the takeout for any reason because of parking or because of Art's opinion or the board's concerns, is that perhaps it could be used as employee housing as well, because they have such a shortage and the building's there and it's not going to any practical use, and we're upgrading the sanitary system already to an IA.
So that's a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you attached it, right? The requirements for
Yes.
staff housing. Does it have to be attached? What was that first requirement, that it be attached to?
Here it is. It just has to be on the site. Right here. Oh, yeah, and it wasn't attached.
It must be
the
attached
building.
to the
Yeah.
principal building.
Yeah, B. Yeah, B, the standard B.
That's,
Which it's not already. And I told Lori, when we were reviewing this, that, there might need to be some clarification with the Zoning Board of Appeals, because the existing seasonal use is in a separate building and is not attached to the restaurant. And obviously you can see on the site plan that both of those accessory buildings are currently not attached. And this is where'd it go? This is the C of O that they have, which was a pre-existing C of O, which means the restaurant and all of this predated zoning, which has the restaurant and bar with roof deck and first floor apartment and second floor and the detached garage and the accessory building, which was legally converted to employee housing.
Yeah, there's a pre-existing CO for that as well. One-story building utilized as a one-room seasonal cottage.
Which is this
Unheated.
building right here. So restaurant, garage, which is in question for the use, and then the seasonal workforce housing is this building right here.
Lori, before you go, if I understand this correctly, the cooking would be done in the main restaurant. Then you would have a runner going to the pickup area where the garage currently is?
If we were doing the takeout out of the garage, that's correct.
Okay.
Someone on the staff would be taking the prepared meals out there, and I'm not sure if they're going to put them together in a bag out there or they're going to come out in a bag for somebody to come by and grab.
Mhm.
And where is the parking in relation to that work?
The parking is right next to it.
So
Yep, right where the cursor is.
you're going to be, the runner is going to be managing to get around the cars that are parked.
Yeah, they can walk right down the side. Yep, right there. Perfect. Yep.
but this is, are you making a request for food or for the big bakery operation that's going on there?
This is for takeout for food for the
And what
restaurant.
happens to the bakery and all the baked goods that are takeout on weekends? And
They have a counter for that inside. I mean, it's part of their operation. I mean, they serve their baked goods for dinner and lunch.
So they're not, so that takeout will remain at that counter
Probably
inside the
not.
restaurant.
Probably not.
I assumed that the takeout was going to be the bakery when I saw this
Oh.
on the agenda.
Yes, because that's a big part of their business.
And that to me is a separate business from the restaurant.
Mhm.
It's the same owner, same kitchen. It's just the preparation of food and then people picking it up.
I thought the bakery was a separate situation in the downstairs.
That downstairs is the kitchen.
Well,
Becky,
I
would you
think
mind
that's-
zooming in just a little bit?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Right, so at this point, the garage is empty and in disrepair. The cottage is C of seed or C of O'd for workforce housing.
It's not. It's simply a one-room seasonal cottage, but we're going to make it a year-round housing for restaurant employees. Yeah,
All right,
How many bedrooms in it? It's just one bedroom?
just one.
And
And
you'll
that-
keep it as one?
It'll stay as one. It's too small to be divided unless we're able to make it bigger, but that's not on the table right now.
Could you
So that's-
combine it with a garage, with a connector? And then
It's possible.
could you get 1 or 2 bedrooms out of the garage?
Possibly. We'd have to look at it. It's the first time I've brought this up today when I started hearing some resistance to perhaps the takeout. So
No.
the question with the takeout I have is that it's not, if am I correct, it is not according to
No code.
statute. There is no code that allows it, correct?
It is
That's right.
not, yeah, it's not a permitted use in the OD zoning district.
Right, we had it for the application right up the street. The Bridgehampton Inn, when they wanted to put the loaves and fishes takeout in the back.
So what are we asking the chief building
Right.
inspector to give us?
but it's a little shady, the use, because this is not a standalone Chinese restaurant that doesn't actually have a restaurant. You know what I mean? This is an accessory to the restaurant. Very
Well,
different than driving up to get your takeout Chinese where there are no tables and there are no seats. So it's a code interpretation, which is why we have to go to Art Gerhauser.
Well, I'm not quite sure, but
It's also, I feel like it's a change from what customary restaurant takeout is because of, the pandemic. A lot of more people are taking out than eating in. So it's also a change here. But I think we'll look at, Lori and I will look at.
but the code exists, Jackie, we're not going to bend the code.
Oh, no, I'm not saying so. I'm just saying, restaurants seem to be moving their business plans to accommodate more takeout.
So maybe we-
But I still have to say that the bakery part of this business
Mhm.
will
Mhm.
develop a lot more traffic because people will be taking bakery stuff out, not necessarily just eating. So it's not like people are going to come here and order a full meal and take it out because they don't want to eat inside the restaurant. They're going to be going there to get their bread and rolls.
Well, there's 3 different, things going on in different times of day, actually 4 if we have the apartment. So you've got bakeries morning, you've got lunches, sit down outside, whatever. You can take out your lunches for sure. And you have dinners, sit down, take out, whichever you prefer. And then we'll have housing, which is a night use. So there's a lot of not overlapping time frames.
Lori, without giving you any value judgment as to what the use should be, it seems to me that the next step, somebody should be stopping at the town board's level and saying, maybe we need a code change. Because I hate to hear building inspectors or chief acting building inspectors or new chief building inspectors making code changes or interpretations that were never expected when the initial codes were put into place. So I think maybe this is also a step over to the town board and see if you need a code change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Who would that
when you
come
think
from?
about it.
Who would initiate that?
I think you ought to call your town board member.
Oh, we would initiate it, not the planning department?
No,
Code change? No, that's
Okay.
my knowledge. We don't do code changes. We just interpret code. We just enforce code to interpret it, but Jackie?
I've
Yeah.
discussed this with Janice, too. So she's aware of this specific situation. And I think there's definitely a need for restaurants to be more accommodating, during these times. So, I can discuss that again with her. But Lori, I think, reaching out to a representative of the town board is a good
Sure.
recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah, there seems to be more of like an accessory pickup location as opposed to your traditional takeout.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have to find how it fits into code.
But we
Right.
do have to be careful with the bakery use, because if people are attracted to the restaurant just for the bakery use, that is something too we need to look at and make sure that remains an accessory use to the restaurant, which also could be a possible condition in the future, so that we limit the amount of bakery use, so that it doesn't impact.
I think you're making very muddy waters in determining business operations here.
I agree.
You have to know what's existing and be very aware of reality here, what's going on. But most of all, you've got a parking area that's not going to accommodate additional cars.
Yeah, so
Jackie, with all due respect, before I think we even get to that question, we have a use that is not permitted by the code.
That's right, by code, exactly.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Lori, without me passing any judgment on anything that you're trying to do, whether it has merit or it doesn't have merit, I'm stuck right there at the code. The code does not permit it. I think the next thing is not an interpretation of the code, but a change of the code. And
to accommodate the takeout.
to accommodate this new unique, what you're defining as a unique takeout accessory. And I think that your call to your local town board member is saying that we've got a code, but I am very reticent to have, and it's just my opinion, to have a chief building inspector make a change or be asked to make a change in or interpretation of the code.
Well, the code actually does empower the chief building inspector to interpret the code.
But
And
Well, we're aware of that, but we also don't want to be in violation of spot zoning,
right.
where there's one accommodation made, where other applicants have been turned down because it doesn't comply with the code. And I think that you would find that reasoning to stand, even with the chief building inspector.
so, I mean, the fact is that all restaurants do takeout. So I don't see how this.
Yes,
is
but they're not
distinguishing.
doing it in a separate area, Lori.
No,
They're
I
doing
understand
it
that.
out
This is
of the-
different.
They're doing it out of their own building, or they have a pickup window, or they're doing it outside on the, I mean, you've seen many restaurants just, set up pickup table outside during high COVID. But
okay, so I think
I think your point is that I think you've got a way forward, Lori, to go to the chief building inspector. He is the interpreter of the code on your application. And then you're right, the board's right, and that's we should get a handle on this. It should be more of a code issue, like what's the percentage if something's going to be accessory takeout. So I think there should be more. I agree with both sides on this, but we have to move forward. Sorry, I just wanted
yeah, I was just going to say, I think we got a lot of valuable input, and I think we have enough to work on and start reviewing more. And Lori, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I think we had really great input from the board, and we do have concerns with parking. So I'll go over that in detail with you and compare the two plans so that we can see the exact amount of parking.
Great.
How that impacts it. All right.
Sounds
thank
good.
you. All right.
Thank you
Lori.
very much, everyone.
thank you. So closing the work
Chair,
session going.
Madam Chair, Dennis Finnerty is here.
Oh, hi, Dennis. How are you?
Been here
You
for a
had
while.
trouble coming in too.
Yeah, I'm on my laptop.
Okay.
Thank God for laptops.
So opening the afternoon work session, we're going to Ridge Petroleum.
And Charles, if you could let Chuck Southard in, Charles Southard, and
Yeah.
I believe there's somebody from VHB, I think Aaron, maybe?
So,
Correct, yes.
something's
great.
coming in, and who else? Aaron?
Aaron from VHB, AARON, I think.
Got it.
I thought I saw him, but maybe I didn't see him.
He's in.
Okay, great. So we received a traffic study just a couple days before the last meeting, and you'd asked for additional time. You can hear me okay, right? Everybody? Okay, good.
See you now.
Additional time to review it. So you had that time. The applicant's representative who prepared the study is here. So I think if you want maybe an overview from them about the traffic analysis and the summary, I think that might be productive if the board agrees. Where we're at right now is that you're reviewing SECRA for both the site plan application, which is not been submitted yet for you, and the ZBA application, which is being considered at the ZBA level. So if you think that's good, I could ask maybe Chuck to speak for us first, or Aaron, if you feel comfortable, if you don't mind. And identify yourself for the record, please, if you don't mind.
Charles W. Southern Jr., registered architect. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
I
Yes.
can.
Yeah, we can hear.
I can't see myself. I don't know. Okay, you have received the traffic study as you requested?
Yes, we do have it, Chuck. We've
Okay,
had it.
okay, good. Host says as you start, there we go. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay, hi. The traffic study was done by VHB. Aaron McAtee is here, and he can answer any questions regarding that if you have any. I think we've covered all of the information on this application before this. I think this is the last item that there is for it. So if you'd like to address that and question, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, Robin, you have your,
Yes, Aaron, can you answer some questions on methodology for me? I'm a little unsure.
Sure. Absolutely.
In the section that speaks to existing conditions and then goes on to site trip generation with a table, did you ever go actually to the site, or is this done purely on a definition of a gas station with X amount of bays and X amount of work area?
This is done based on IT data. So this is, we were out at the site, but based on the season, it wouldn't be practical to, because as I think everyone's aware, gas stations are pass-by uses primarily. So when, not being able to count it during, the peak season, it's not very practical to do existing observations.
Okay, but putting aside that for a second, it says it's currently occupied by a one-story building, which is currently operating as a gasoline service station with 5 fueling positions and 2 service bays. When you do your analysis, are you looking up in a book as to what the average usage is for this type of, the average traffic for this type of usage? Or did you do actual counts at this location to see how often the bays are being used and service bays are being used and the fueling position?
Yeah, well, as I just indicated, it's not because of the nature of of the season, it's not really practical to look at what's coming in and out and what's happening at the location itself, because it'll be heavily linked with the traffic that's passing the site on Montauk Highway. Because that's reduced, it was more practical to look at just the numbers from the book.
So you're getting a baseline that if let's say the bays were not being used, would your traffic numbers be lower by the whatever code you're using or methodology you're using?
Well, the land use code for a gasoline service station without a convenience store is actually quite broad. So it includes things that have auto service and other ancillary uses basically that just aren't a convenience market. So we would probably, if it were just the service station and there were no ancillary secondary use, it would probably be the same land use code we use to represent the existing condition.
So you're saying that if it was just a service station without any ancillary use, the numbers or the baseline would be the same as it would be if it does have ancillary service state bays and fueling? I'm not quite sure I understand your methodology. Let me tell you where I'm going, and then maybe perhaps you can explain to me where this is. The concept that I'm going on is that you're saying there's not going to be an increase of traffic by using it as for the store, okay? Because the traffic patterns or the amount of usage is based on this being currently a gas station with 5 fueling positions and 2 service bays. So there isn't any increase because it's already has this usage. My question is, if the bays were not really in use and the service station was not really getting that kind of traffic, that increment would be greater for an ancillary store. So I'm trying to understand the methodology.
So a few things with regard to that. One, I'm not indicating in my report, in my traffic assessment, that there won't be an increase in traffic. The reality is when you go from the secondary use of being virtually anything else to a secondary use being a convenience store, there will be an increase in traffic. What's presented in the report is, one, that the increase in traffic is somewhat modest, and 2, because of the nature of the pass-by traffic, even more so, the level of traffic in the study area would be fairly de minimis. As far as, if you were to look at a service station with the secondary auto repair, an auto repair with 2 service bays probably won't generate a significant amount of peak hour traffic, which is what we're looking at. So, the delta between just a service station and something with the service bays is not, looking at the service bays as a separate entity is not significant. Regardless, the data set that we used from ITE for gas stations with service station for such a gas station includes, studies that were done for similar service stations, and includes locations that had service bays and other types of ancillary use, or lube those like a Jiffy Lube type thing, or whatever, things of that nature, independent type places as that. It includes just data that's sort of amalgamated together and used to generate what the peak hour traffic would be for the use.
How do you define significant? Let's maybe we'll back up. We'll go backwards.
ITE and the New York State DOT generally uses a 100 trip threshold. If you're not generating more than 100 trips, you don't really have the possibility of affecting roadway conditions.
does it depend on the type of roadway, whether we're in a residential community versus being in a commercial community?
No.
So that 100, the significance in a commercial area would be different than the significance in a residential community.
I mean, a gas station, not really sure what you're asking with that, to be honest.
We have here a gas station. If you have a gas station that's in a commercial area and you add a certain amount of trips to that area, it might not be significant. If you take a gas station, put it in a residential area, add the same amount of trips, can you still define that as significant or insignificant? Does it take into effect the nature of the community that you are now increasing the traffic in?
Well, the guideline that I just mentioned is basically to determine whether or not a rigorous intersection analysis would be necessary. If you're less than 100 trips, it wouldn't really make a difference if you're in the middle where you are. I mean, admittedly, in the smack middle of a residential subdivision, you wouldn't put a gas station, but if you're less than 100 trips, it wouldn't have an impact on the operating conditions of the roadway in general.
So
the 100 trips is really a textbook chart analysis that you pick up from the ITE data.
Yeah, it's a guide. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a guideline. It's by no means written in stone. If you're less than 100 trips, you won't have an impact. I'm not saying that. It's just it helps guide us in terms of would we do a rigorous analysis? If we're less than that, typically we could say and respond, especially with as it relates to SECRA. We would respond no to the question if there's going to be a significant increase in traffic.
So you don't necessarily take your data and put it into a community environment. I think that's what Robin is also trying to say, that you then would modify this based on the surrounding area, as opposed to just isolating it as a data point in a chart.
We certainly have. In some conditions where there's particular concern, we've done analysis for things that generate very, very little traffic, just in order to address those concerns. It really depends on the level of confidence and the level of that comfort that everyone wants to have with the results that things are coming up with. I have done traffic analysis for things that generate as few as something along the lines of like 4 peak hour trips. It had negligible impacts. I was able to demonstrate that, but it is that is what we have run rigorous analysis for that when it's requested.
Okay, because you have a residential street. This Walker Avenue is a residential street. And we've put, whether it's correct or not, an exit onto Walker Avenue. So when you look at the traffic impact, are you looking at interior circulation, access? I noticed you did say access points. That's your conclusion. You just say the second site access driveway located on Walker Avenue is approximately 100 feet from the intersection of Montauk Highway. So, bottom line, we were concerned about traffic in part because of where this particular property is and the environment around it.
And we don't have actual numbers of what we don't have real-time numbers. We're taking a definition of a commercial gas station with 2 bays and a certain amount of filling spots, and then taking, again, textbook numbers of what an accessory would be. And there is no actual numbers nor relationship of that to a area that has a direct residential impact. And we're just saying there's no significance, and I'm a little unsure that I have enough information to agree to say there is no significance.
I mean, I sort of, my notes sort of came from a slightly different perspective, but I didn't understand how the convenience store use traffic was calculated. I think I'm hearing that it's based on a textbook suggestion, but I'm uncomfortable with numbers like that. They're too general, especially when you've got a side street with houses on it.
Claire, is this a 900 square foot convenience store? Just refreshing
They
my,
reduced the actual retail area to 900 square feet. You know how
that's what I
they,
just asked, right? Is it
yeah,
900
so
square feet?
the entire building though is larger. I think, Chuck, you could step in. I think it's about 1,300, but the
13.
actual retail,
1350, yeah.
yeah, the actual retail is 900 square feet. You know how the ZBA does a breakdown? It's not always, it's not just the square footage of the building. They actually break down what's storage, what's the space for the, you know, on office space or someone for the cashier. It's all broken down. So they have adjusted their numbers to be 900 square feet of retail for the building. So in the building. So there's a floor plan that's been presented to
Right,
you.
it's in your report, actually. And what's in the convenience store is reflected in the report.
And is that the size of the convenience store part of the traffic analysis? I mean, would the traffic be the same if it were a 2,000 square foot retail store?
Well,
Versus 900.
In this case, there's a slightly different version of the land use category that's used as the size of this convenience store gets bigger. So there are ranges. If you have a convenience store that's only 900 square feet, use the numbers that I used. If you have something that's 2,000 to, I think it's 4,000, you use a different set of numbers. And then they have, you know, progressing like that. The basis for the independent variable that we used was the number of fueling positions. In that case, it's actually, in this case, it's actually more conservative to look at it based on the number of fueling positions because the size of the building is fairly small.
So you don't calculate, for example, someone pulling in to just use the convenience store, other people at the gas station. So these numbers just logically increase, no?
No. The way that this data is created is other locations similar to this one are studied, and ITE collects the data for those locations and says this is what traffic is generated by such a use, and then compares it to various independent variables depending on the use. In this case, it has the size of the convenience store, it has the number of fueling positions. When that data is, the data set includes people that are coming just to use the convenience store, people that are coming just for fuel, people that are coming for both. It's sort of all inclusive. It's taken into account the fact that there are three sets of ways that you could use a use such as this one.
Okay.
Does it take into consideration the nature of the community?
Yes. Can I say something? People are referring to this as a textbook it's not from a textbook. It's from a data combination of experience and determination by experts that puts out a data book. They do it for engineers. They do it for people that are building buildings for stress. His particulars is the study done under certain circumstances and listed in a book that gives what the results was. So we keep, my impression is you keep wanting to know, well, what if this happens and what if that happens? That was taken in to the number he used. They looked at many, many possibilities and actual possibilities statistically and arrive at a maximum minimum result for that particular thing. Now, if you're going to bring external information in, then maybe you should write to the publishers of this book and tell them they should expand their study groups. But to constantly imply that he hasn't done his homework is wrong. He's done and he's used the information that is given to him in his field. It's like going to a lawyer and telling them, well, why was that done? And you say, well, that's the law. And you say, well, I don't think the law was right. That's not our job. Our job is to
I
look
think we're
at-
just looking for some clarification, John.
Well, I thought he was doing a good job clarifying it
Good.
because every time he said something, someone did a why if. And
Well, but that's a function,
I said my piece.
that's the function of a planning board. So.
Well, no, the
So-
function of the
so-
planning board is not to why if everything. One is to ask an expert to come in to explain that to us. And when he does that, we then discuss it.
Well, we're discussing the traffic report.
Discussing it.
Well, I think at the end of the day, what I'm hearing is that based on the suggestions from this analysis, that there's no impact, but because of volume levels that are part of, this is how you should use this data. But what's not included is the fact that there's a residential street attached to this business. And so to me, that's should we look at that would there be a lower threshold that would say this is potentially a challenge to the neighborhood?
Yeah, well said.
From the perspective of traffic engineering, if you have a secondary frontage onto a side street, having an access on that frontage is a good thing.
But if your
And
house,
it helps, I'm just trying to explain. What you're saying, the concerns about the potential intrusion into the residential neighborhood is valid, but just from a strictly traffic engineering standpoint, it's not. We're focused on traffic safety in terms of does this work out and how does access work. So, you know, the thresholds in terms of saying will there be a significant impact are not affected by that. There are other concerns in terms of circulation and intrusion that I think fall under different avenues of the secret process, but I'm not sure that's necessarily you know, the operation of the facility that's one of them.
So you, Aaron, you did take into consideration then the traffic on Walker Avenue, right? You had to, as part of
Yeah.
your review.
Yeah, I mean, not being able to get, you know, if in another world where this was done during, you know, the peak season, you know, in the middle of August, sometime after Independence Day, you know, I think it's very well known, everyone on this board and really everyone, that the traffic levels out in this area tend to be accelerated at those times of the year. You know, if we did a roadway analysis and looked at everything, we could say, you know, this is how much traffic is on Walker Avenue, and this is how the traffic generated by the site would interfere with that. Barring being able to do that, what we looked at was this delta, and what the delta is saying is that if we do that analysis, we won't see any significant impact.
I guess maybe ask Jackie, do you think we need to get a pulse from the board? Which way they want to go on this? Like maybe, do you need someone to assist you to review this?
Process.
Dennis, what? I'm sorry.
Where are we in the secret process? Sorry.
Yes, where are we in the secret process?
We're on an action deadline to make a secret determination. That's for the ZBA's action. And I've heard a couple questions from a couple of board members. Robin having a concern about the actual counts. I think that actual counts versus.
Claire, I'm sorry, I'm confused where we are on the seat. What is before the ZBA right now, and what is the action? Are we neg deck? Is it a neg deck, pos deck issue today? I'm sorry. I need to know.
So you asked just to back it up for a second. In September, you asked the applicant for traffic analysis. Actually, there was another application on at the same time, and it was a traffic analysis very similar to this one was provided for that application. It was GTB. And so you suggested that the applicants provide that same information, you know, an analysis of the traffic for the area for the use, and that's what they have provided. And so I, based upon this conclusion of this professional's report, I prepared a negative declaration for today. But I understand that a couple of you have concerns about the report and whether it's good enough information. And in the past, if it rises to the level where we're, you know, I can't tell you traffic is, I'm not an analyst. I don't look at this stuff every day. So I can't give you that advice. Sometimes we do hire someone to then look at it for you on certain applications, but I'm not quite sure if you want to do that in this case. I'm just counting 3 people who had questions.
Okay, so what, again, I'm just, Claire, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand completely. So today our vote is whether it's a neg deck or a pos deck. That's the issue before us. And the CBA needs that to make a determination on the application being made for a variance on what, the size?
Yes, as a convenience store, the size of the convenience store as an accessory use.
As an accessory use. Okay, so they're waiting on us to do either a neg deck or a pos deck.
Correct.
Okay, that cleared that up.
So if you remember on the Grobeski Airport application, you had a traffic consultant retained to help you interpret those issues. And so Claire is asking you if you think this rises to that level and you need somebody to help you interpret the report that VHB has given you.
How does everybody feel about that? Robin, Glorian,
Well, I think
Ray?
the fact that you have 3 members raising significant questions would warrant.
A traffic consultant.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so Glorian, a traffic consultant to take a look at this review and answer some of our questions.
Dennis, what was your feeling? Dennis?
We
Yes.
were at the deadline though, right?
Right, so it would be upon the request to the applicants that have it be further extended, pending us getting some, I'm sorry, what's the word? Estimates, estimates for the work to be done, to be looked at. And then they would be charged back because we don't have a budget for that, and that's part of the code. So we'd need additional time. The next meeting is the 9th. Even if we got to turn back around, then there's a holiday on the 16th.
Go into January.
Yeah, it could be to that effect.
Second meeting in January at least.
Huh?
Second meeting in January at least.
Yeah, maybe. Well, just to determine to hire someone, obviously. Yeah, but for the extension of the time, yes, I would imagine so, because you'd need time to consider their report back to you.
I mean, I would what I would like to hear, and I don't think I've heard that yet, is because this is a non-conforming in a residential area, is the traffic increase at a level where we should have mitigation? I think that now that I totally understand the analysis that was done, I don't think you've, Mr. I'm going to not be able to pronounce your last name. You are not able to provide that information at this time. Am I hearing what you're talking about correctly?
I mean, my report does indicate that this doesn't rise to the level that would require mitigation, but if, you know, you need independent verification of that, I can fully respect that.
Right. I think what we're also looking for is some evaluation on the traffic counts on Walker Avenue, how it impacts the intersection with Montauk Highway, the overall traffic impact on this corner. So I think what you're hearing is that we'd like to have someone take a look at this. And so we would need an extension.
You would have to agree to an extension for our seeker determination to, did you have a date, Claire?
As you said, it'd probably be the second meeting in January, which would be the 27th.
The 27th?
But in the meantime, we would get an estimate for the next meeting, hopefully hire them at the next meeting, which is a week later, and we could get this started for him. I know it's another delay, but I think the board's got some concerns. Otherwise, it would just rise to the level of saying there's more concerns, and then you would, you know, pause back the project instead. So
that's the other option.
Right.
Well, the applicant's here. Is he authorized to give us an extension?
Chuck?
No, I'm not. I'd have to talk with our attorney.
Excuse me? I couldn't hear you, sir.
I'm sorry. I'd have to speak with the attorney for the owner.
To give us an extension?
We don't have that option.
Can we table this, Chuck, and then you can come back in an hour and let us know?
Because the other option is that if I understand correctly, if there is no extension granted, and then we take a vote on whether it's neg decade or pos decade, is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And it would be.
Correct, and then we would start the scoping process for a pause deck.
Yeah.
I just want him to be able to.
That's a lengthy process, Chuck. So we can table this if you want to make a phone call and then come back and let us know. Claire gave you some dates.
Could you explain to me this process of having your own consultant review this?
Okay, we would hire a consultant. Claire, you could explain it.
Sure. So I would give them the documents we have to date, the application, obviously the report from VHB for the traffic analysis, and we'd ask them to provide the technical consultant support to the planning board for making a secret determination for the project. With Gloria's suggestion, whether there'd be some mitigation involved. Relocating the access ways, changing aisles, you know, those kinds of things that might make a better project for traffic. So I think the board's got enough questions that they are leaning towards that this may have an impact on the neighborhood. I've heard a lot of words about the neighborhood being residential and having an impact on that intersection. So that would be the scope of the review, but we would hire them, would be an estimate first. We'd ask you, of course, tell you about the money. And if you were agreeable, then the applicant would have to pay for that consultant, which would be the planning board's consultant making recommendations for seeker impacts related to traffic only.
Okay, I'll explain this to my client and his attorney, and I'll see what they want to do.
Okay, that would be good. If you could even just give Carrie a call in our office and let her know yes or no, or just shoot me an email. I'll have my email open so I can take a look at it. Okay?
Okay,
So we'll
Okay.
keep it open, Chuck, until we
We'll
hear
keep-
from you,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, we'll keep it open. And if you could just be in touch.
Well, we have to make a decision before we adjourn today.
That's
Yes.
right. yeah.
That's true. So we'll touch base in and out. It's 3. We'll touch base at 4 and see how it goes. Okay, Chuck?
I'll see if I can get everybody on board by then.
That'd be
Okay,
great.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Sue. Appreciate it.
So no action on that right now. We'll move on to Zarabi Family Trust. Jackie Fenlon, that's your application. Do you have
Yeah.
someone coming in
Yeah.
for this?
Yes, if you could please let in Daphne Vaughn and the representative, the attorney for is Doug Sinsky.
Daphne Vaughn and Doug.
Sinsky, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're here today to review SECRA. Is everyone seeing that aerial?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a large property in the Great Hill Road area in the hamlet of North Sea. It has limited road frontage, which is right here if you can see my cursor. You can see that there is a lot of preserved land and open space surrounding the property, town and county to the north, as well as county pieces to the west. So the planning board recommended a cluster plan, which is this, with the lots clustered. Now there is an existing house and accessory structures that were in this area based upon the clearing, if you can see that.
Can you enlarge it? Can you enlarge it, please?
Yeah, I just have to get
And I thought it looked like it was fronting on Ocean View Parkway and not Great Hill Road.
It fronts on Great Hill Road right here with like 39 point something feet, Glorian. These technically are old file map private roads, which they are not entitled to use.
And where is Ocean View Parkway on this map?
I don't know exactly.
I swear on the earlier map, this property was abutting it.
What do you mean by Ocean View Parkway? Like
Well,
there's a road
That's a road that off
Yeah.
of Great Hill.
right here?
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It's a paper road, Glorian, and this property is a described property that's not entitled to use that.
And so this is to the ocean. I'm very confused because there is an Ocean View Parkway off of Great Hill
Mhm.
that
Well,
was
there's half a
taxed-
dozen Ocean Parkways. There's a big one
Oh, I
south.
know that. There's one around the corner from me, but I actually have a friend who lives on this Ocean View Parkway.
Let me go back to the aerial.
It's
Yeah.
probably on the one south of Great Hill Road.
Yeah, I was thinking that most are to the south. There's Park Ave here, right here, Glorian. It's to the south.
Oh, okay. All right,
This
so
property to the north.
It's the other side. It's the other side of Great Hill Road. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry. And when I was looking at it, I was like, where? But it's
Well,
right here.
I know this area well, and it's like it doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so that's just to the south right here. That's why I always like to do a zoom out and a zoom in so we can kind of get a lay of the land.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
my friend's house on the map, so.
There you go. Okay. So let me go back to the plan. So the planning board, we had deemed this incomplete because we didn't have slope analysis. Let me put this back in full screen mode. So this is a slope analysis. So there is some terrain here. I actually think some of this topo was increased because the house used to be here. It used to have a circle driveway like this. So we will be eliminating the circle driveway. The house and pool used to be here. When I inspected the property at the pre-application, the pool was pushed right up against this. And I believe some of the regrading for the pool probably created this. But you can see that, you know, there's a lot of steep slopes that we have preserved in the open space. And this, because of the zoning of CR 200 and it being in the aquifer protection, this is essentially the highest threshold of a cluster plan that is required by the code. So this is 65% open space. This is also a density incentive plan. This is about approximately 11 acres. They are bringing in with a full development right and adding an additional lot.
Can I ask you something just
Mhm.
about the percentage?
Mhm.
So in CR 200, the steep slopes are eliminated from the developable portions.
Actually, no, that's only for lots that are less than 80,000 square feet.
Less than 80. So the lots here are over.
Well, the conforming standard lots is where, for the yield plan is where we would eliminate it. But this conforms with 2 yields, and then we're adding it for a third through the density incentive. So the yield
Okay,
plan.
so
would
they're
have to-
allowed 2 lots.
Yep.
And they're getting a third, and only 2 lots because of the slope analysis, right?
And the zoning, correct, yeah.
And the zoning.
Mhm.
So, all right, that answers one question. What does the green represent on this
The
map?
green are some steep slopes within the building envelope. So the orange is the open space steep slopes, and the green is the steep slopes within the building, within the lots. Not necessarily within the building area. You can see that this is the building envelope here, this is the building envelope here, and this is the building envelope here, those boxes in the center of the lot.
So does it reduce their buildable area?
No, but I think we did recommend some buffering. They have proposed this darker L-shaped upside down L. Oops, sorry, is the buffer that they are proposing to the open space. But we can review this. My only concern with these sloped areas, because they still have adequate building envelope. As you can see, the center of this lot has adequate building envelope. So does this one, as well as this one. The one thing I was concerned with is because the only road frontage is this 39-foot portion here, which we're going to accommodate a common driveway for 3 lots. I weighed in with the town engineer to make sure that this was not, an area that would not be able to be regraded for a common driveway. I also did a site inspection yesterday as well. So it does dip, but essentially they have proposed just a small amount of fill to bring that to an acceptable grade. And I think the grade was about 4 point something percent, where we will accept about 6 to 8%, depending on the terrain. So
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. I just wanted to let you know that the town engineer did not have any reservations about the common driveway going in this location.
Jackie, how did they get the 3rd lot again?
Through 330-9 density incentive, they brought in a full development right from the CR 200 and the Southampton School District.
Is it an old filed map right, or just, where did they get the right?
You know what? I have it. I believe it was a described lot.
A described lot?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the CR 200 and it's not an old filed map lot.
I don't believe so, but Dennis, I will double check that. I do have it in the file.
Because this is a described parcel, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dennis, I believe it was a described property, but I will double check that. And I could send you guys the development right if you'd like.
That was my question as well, was
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yep. No problem, but it does meet the intent of the code requirements, which is it has to be from the CR 200 and it has to be from the Southampton School District.
But can it be from an old file map? Or must it be from apples to apples, from described to described?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it doesn't?
Can't be old filed map.
It can't be old file map,
No.
right?
I don't know if it can't be, to tell you the truth, but we always encourage that old file
Well,
maps require
We've
that.
had big go rounds,
Yeah.
Jackie. We've had big go rounds with a certain Mr. I won't name.
Well, you know what's interesting is that, yeah, you know what's interesting is that the planning board did allow clearing rights to be transferred from.
Clearing
old
is
file
different. Clearing is different, but yeah, that goes way back. That
maps.
debate.
I would highly recommend against it. I don't know. I will double check that in the code if it prohibits it. But I always recommend against it because we want old file maps to stay in old file maps.
Exactly.
Which, so I'd always recommend against that. I believe that this is described property. I have it in the file. I have to admit, I haven't looked at it very recently, so I will double check on that for you.
Well, if we're considering a secret determination now for the final application, shouldn't we know that?
If you give me one moment, I can.
Jackie?
Yep.
I have the certificates in front of me. Would it
Oh,
say
great.
on them if it was old file map?
I believe it would, yeah.
Because they just say that it's a half a development right, and it gives the tax map number, and It does not, it says it's a CR 200 zoning district, Aquifer Protection Overlay District, Southampton School District. It does not designate that it's an old file map on either of them.
Daphne, what's the tax map number?
I have 935 to 44 and 34 to 39.
So I can try and check that, Jackie, if you want. It doesn't sound like an old file map, tax map, but.
I don't
think
believe
I
it.
think
I
it's
don't.
important to check it, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I went over that at the pre-app and I'm sorry, I just don't have it readily available right now.
Definitely say it was half a development, right?
I have two certificates that are both half development. right?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's two adding up to a full development, right?
Yes.
So that gives them the third lot.
Yes, correct.
So it's 65% open space because they can't build on that 65%.
It's 65% because that is the highest threshold because of the location in a critical environmental area, the aquifer protection, and you're in the highest zoning district. That's what's established in the code. Under the cluster plan under 247.
Okay. So are we going through the secret determination now, or?
Yes, I would like to, if you're, Kathleen, thank you for looking that up. I was trying to see if I had a scan of it in the file, but I don't think I had it from the previous.
I can share my screen, I think of, can I share my GIS screen and show you where they are? It doesn't, they don't, neither of them appear to be file
You
maps.
can, yeah, and I think that'll refresh my memory as well.
Okay, let me see if I can do this. You see that?
Yeah.
There it is, yeah.
Okay, so this is, this red triangle is tax lot 2-44. So.
Yeah, that is not an old
Illinois
file
Path
map.
and Watermill.
That little triangular piece, is that?
Mhm.
I'll zoom
Yeah.
in, sorry.
Yeah, they're described properties. I'm now remembering my discussion with Kyle regarding these.
So this is,
So it's a little corner piece of that
They're
parcel?
awfully small.
Yeah,
Buildable?
with single and separate, technically, yeah, they are buildable.
Yeah.
Dennis, do you, are you guys familiar with the house, like across from Mary's Lane on Major's Path?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar size lot. I remember this now after going through this in depth with Kyle at the pre-application stage.
That's a building lot, that long triangle?
This is the other one.
Mhm.
You'll get a building permit, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Lorian, are you familiar with the one on Major's Path, the new one? Like
Yeah.
across from Mary's Lane? It's a very similar size lot to that lot.
Mhm.
How many acres can you go back? Kathleen, sorry.
That's okay.
You have all the data. up
This
there.
one is 2,791 square feet.
Yeah,
And this, the other one,
The other one should be 788 square feet.
yeah, it says 853, but the tax records will have it smaller.
And I believe that's why it was given, each were given half of a development, right? But technically they are single and separate described properties that have since been deeded to the town.
Even though they're very, very small square footage wise.
Correct.
Does the square footage have to, how do you calculate that?
Yeah, I don't know how you build on that.
That was calculated on in the development right allocation. So that was with the process with the town board.
Who signs those right? Who signed that?
Jay Schneiderman signed them.
I mean, who determined that they were development rights?
I believe it was Dave Wilcox.
And not Kyle.
It was Kyle. Kyle
It was
signed them.
Kyle, yeah.
These
Well,
were
yeah,
signed in 2017.
Yeah, so Dave does the allocation based upon the code requirements, and then it's signed by Kyle and Jay, I believe.
I mean, I think we saw just under 2,800 square feet and 800. So we're talking 3,400 square feet. How do you build on that? That's not, to me, I don't know how that's buildable.
Well, and the intent of the program is that we've listed the development rights where building is not appropriate to put it somewhere where it would be more appropriate.
Well,
And
this-
this, this was reviewed by Dave and then presented to the town board. So these certificates have already been issued. I'm not sure that we want to have a discussion about.
Yeah, I'm just from a knowledge curiosity standpoint, I don't know how you could say these are buildable when you'd have to put a bathroom maybe on it if they're so small.
Well, that's why we initiated the development right program, because they're not appropriate to be built on. And that's why they're only fractional credits. They're not full credits, but there's value to them.
So Kathleen, does the owner of that property, in North Sea, they owned that property or someone else owned it, or just for clarification, that little piece? Yeah.
Daphne, I think.
Sorry.
Oh. Daphne, I
Irene
believe
Chang
that.
owned it. Okay. She
No,
was the owner.
sorry. That was the wrong one. It's just, let's see. It's a Gaza parcel, so given to the town.
There are 2 Gaza parcels.
2017.
Gloria, I had the reservations as well when I was looking up the parcel. But they were allocated half of a development right each, which meets the standard of the code.
I have an opinion that doesn't agree with this, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I understand. I had the same reservations when I was looking at this at the pre-application stage.
Particularly in Great Hill. I mean, that is a unique parcel of land.
Mm-hmm.
The fewer houses on top of that, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's keep
So
moving.
I do have, let me make sure it's still there. I have an EAF part 2 prepared.
Okay, let's go through it.
So I have for conflict with the adopted land use plan, I have no, because it does meet the definition of 247 and the requirement for the 330-9 density incentive is the change of intensity of land. I said no to small. Will the action impair the character and quality of the existing community? I said no or small impact. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environment? And I did say that it would have a small impact because it's in the critical environmental area, aquifer protection, but each property will be restricted by clearing restrictions. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the existing level of traffic? It'll be adding 2 more homes where there was 1 existing home. So I classified that as small. Will the proposed action cause an increase of energy? I put no to small. Will the proposed action impact public or private water supplies? The applicant is actually bringing public water to the property and installing a hydrant. So to me, that is a benefit of the project, to bringing public water to this area and fire prevention to this area where there has not been any. Will the proposed action impair the character, quality, and historic and archaeological resources? This is not within the New York State archaeologically sensitive areas, and there are no historic structures on the site, and the planning board authorized the demolishing the structures previously by resolution. Will the proposed action increase the potential for erosion and flooding? I put no. The common driveway actually kind of starts even with Great Hill Road and then dips. So there's no real impact from the common driveway to Great Hill Road, and they will have to provide adequate drainage. Will it have a hazard for environmental resources or human health? So that is no. So I have all of the required standards and findings within the EAF Part 3, which is attached here. So it's basically saying that they are complying with Chapter 247, the cluster. They are providing a density incentive with an additional development right from the CR 200 zoning district, which meets the code, and that it was previously improved with residential accessories. So we are utilizing the development area within those areas of previous disturbance. And this is the no objection for demolition, which we offered in 2019, October of 2019, and that this is in agreement with the 1970 master plan and the comp plan. And then I noted the water main extension, which I think is a benefit again of the project, and that they have received health department approval at this time.
Jackie?
Jackie, does Great Hill Road have any a scenic benefit easements or any of that, since it's such a unique
You know,
geography?
that was one of the standards that we discussed in the pre-app report that supported the cluster plan. It was previously disturbed pretty close to the road, so we did not recommend a buffer at the time of the pre-application report, but I can look at that a little more now that we have the orientation of the common driveway, and they will have clearing restrictions. But the previous disturbance did have like a circle driveway, and then the house was pretty close to the road, so there wasn't a significant amount of natural vegetation that was left there. But I can evaluate that at the final application because, you know, imposing a buffer along the road, you also have to remember those areas that are the
old file map lots.
the old file maps actually act as a buffer.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we've removed that kind of illegal driveway, which was like circle driveway here. We've removed that. So this will revegetate nicely and provides kind of like a buffer to the existing houses. But the house that was existing was approximately like right here with like a pool right up to the edge of that slope easement. And then you had some accessory like storage buildings in the back here, which created essentially this disturbance pattern.
And what kind of setbacks would these three houses? Because normally we give them a little more building envelope because they're preserving lands. So are these big houses going to be right next to each other?
Let me see here.
Well, we usually put the setbacks based on the size of the lot. So
Yeah, the setbacks are appropriate, and I believe that they are 60.
40.
Are 40, sorry, are 40. So this is the, Lauren, it's kind of hard to see because of the topo, but this is the building envelope right here with side yard setbacks here. So this is where the structures would be. And they would each have, let's see, oh yeah, because the interior lot is 50 something here, 58 here. They're all about 58,000. So we always go to the next threshold that they can meet, which is the R40 zoning district, unless there's some, you know, design standards or, you know, restraints that they have.
So Jackie, just a clarification, because of something that Gloria just said.
Sure.
They're not preserving, in my understanding, they're not preserving 65%. They can't build on 65%. So it remains open space, unbuildable.
Not necessarily, because the removal of yield is in smaller lots. So these lots, they had the yield and they could build two standard lots on, you know, there'd be 5 point something acres each. So we could be looking at houses where if a standard plan was approved, a house could be here and a house could be here. There's nothing to say that they can't, but we could impose slope and conservation easements in areas where there's extreme slopes. But it's not unbuildable in this zoning district. When it becomes unbuildable is when we have smaller lot zoning, where it is making it very difficult for the houses to be built in these lower zoning. In the CR 200, it kind of gives you the flexibility for the planning board to situate houses. And in this case, we recommended the cluster because of the existing county and town land. So we chose a cluster because of the area, the critical environmental area, and we chose the orientation based upon the road frontage, which also lined up nicely with the historic disturbance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jackie,
Yes.
I just want to clarify for the board that with the water main extension, since it's over 2,000 linear feet, we need to install 2 fire hydrants, not just one.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that.
It's going to be public water.
It's
Yeah.
bringing public water up Great Hill Road, which if the board will recall, that was a huge debate on the Peconic Shores map, which we were never able to accomplish. So this will bring it past Peconic Shores up to 349 Great Hill Road, serve the 3 lots proposed, and as Daphne's corrected, it will provide 2 hydrants up to Great Hill Road, providing fire prevention for this entire area, which I think is a good benefit of the project.
Yeah.
So they're bringing that from Watermill Town?
They bring you, I believe, from Major's Path. Major's Path has a hydrant extension that gets to Great Hill Road. But I think it terminates, the last hydrant is right at the edge of the transfer station property.
Okay.
I don't know if I can show you on the aerial, but it's a 29 linear feet. Yeah, it's not over here, but it's basically there is water up to a certain point and then it goes uphill. So, they are going to be extending it to here. And then there's going to be a hydrant here, which will serve this whole community. And then I will ask for the measurements on the other hydrant, but I would assume that it's just a little further to the east.
It's 1,000, so we're installing 2,349 linear feet of water main, and there'll be one hydrant at 1,000 linear feet and then one at 2,000.
Yeah, which I think is right around here, I believe.
Hey, Daphne, do they require a pump?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay.
So I think we have a good plan here, and I would recommend, based upon, I think we made a great recommendation in the pre-application report to move forward with the cluster. We're at the highest threshold of preservation. We are looking at it. It does conform with 330-9 for that additional residential density. But at the end of the day, we're looking at 3 lots, 65% open space with a single common driveway that can be accomplished on that eastern side. So I have prepared a resolution for a negative declaration. If the board's amenable with moving forward with that, then I do have a resolution after that, if we could take it, which is number 9, I believe, to deem the application complete and schedule a hearing for January 13th.
Okay. So do you want to do the neg deck first?
Yes, please.
Okay, motion for a neg deck by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. And shall we just jump to?
Number 9.
If we
Number
could, that would be
9.
nice. It's number 9, I believe.
Yeah, so that is to deem it complete and set a public hearing for, that's a January 13th, right?
Yeah, January 13th.
Okay, motion by Gloria and second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. So that's 9.
Jackie?
Oh, Dennis.
I got a reminder from Patty that we have to adjourn at 5:30 for the ZBA.
Okay.
Oh, so, okay, let's
keep
move
track.
along. So we didn't read that into the record, that neg deck, should we?
I went over the neg deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, all right. Good, thank you. Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you.
320, moving on to number 4, is 325 Rose Hill Road. Anthony, are you doing that for Matthew?
I am.
Okay,
Just give me 1 second.
this is the adoption of a pre-app report.
The pre-app report. So the board's familiar with this project. It's 325 Rose Hill Road in Watermill. This is the property in the R60 zoning district with the convent on it, for which there is a pending covenant amendment. If you may recall, this property was part of a previous subdivision for which a no further subdivision covenant was imposed. And the planning board is considering amending that covenant in light of the applicant's proposal to remove the convent structure. The planning board is entertaining modifying that covenant to allow the subdivision. Concurrently with that request, the applicant submitted a pre-application for a 2-lot subdivision, which you guys have been reviewing with Matt. I'm just pinch hitting for him today. And we're at the point where we have the pre-app report for a 2-lot subdivision. It's a lot in the front here, and then a flag strip to the waterfront lot in the back.
Okay, can you go over the pre-app report, Anthony?
I will do it right now. So let me just do this. Okay, so I gave a description of the project and the requested action. The flag lot for lot 2 actually conforms to 1.5 times, minus the wetlands and the flag strip property is 100 feet. This is a type 2 action, so it's not subject to secret. However, the property is within the archaeological sensitive area. So pursuant to the subdivision regulations, they would need to do a phase 1A, 1B for proposed lot 2, as that is the vacant lot. With respect to the comprehensive plan, it's consistent with it in terms of zoning and land use. There was nothing specific about this property. The park requirement is going to be based on a fee assessment because it's only 2 lots. It would be $2,500 per dwelling unit. It's not subject to Long Island workforce housing. We had a public hearing, and as you know, there were public comments. There's obviously an objection to the amendment of the covenant, allowing for further subdivision with opposition to creating an additional residential lot with an extra sanitary system, which could potentially pollute Mecox Bay. And they noted degradation of the existing conservation easement that covers the wetlands. I should point out, sorry, because it's not my project, there is an existing wetlands buffer with easement because it was part of a previous wetlands permit for the property. Referrals were made. The town engineer provided comments, and these are all standard comments. They're going to have to do a SWIP because there's going to be over an acre of disturbance. And then other than that, it was the standard requirements with the fees. And we obviously included them in the recommendations. Fire prevention, also standard comments. Didn't seem to be any requests for any additional firefighting applications. Conservation Board gave their comments. Obviously, they've noted the wetlands as being accurate. They noted the covenant that limits further subdivision. And they're recommending, basically the big recommendation is the extension of the existing conservation easement, which stands at 75 feet from the wetlands. They're recommending that you go to 100 feet. My guess is that at 75 feet was done at the time there was an existing structure there. So the requirement for a buffer was only 75 feet. Once you have a vacant piece of property, that buffer requirement is 100 feet. So that's why I'm guessing they're doing that. So Town Highway Department just talked about the drainage calculations. So we'll get that info. No recommendations from Trails Advisory. Nothing received from the Health Department or the CAC or the DEC or the Fire District for that matter. So in terms of the recommendations, we note that there's an existing covenant that limits further subdivision, and until that's resolved, the applicant wouldn't be able to proceed with the final application. In having discussions with the applicant, the planning board didn't seem to have any objections to amending the covenant, given that the reason behind the covenant is being eliminated. And the resulting lots would conform to density and zoning standards. As it relates to number 3, having said that, the planning board that there's an existing complaint filed in the Supreme Court, I believe from an adjacent property owner who's contesting the ability to amend the covenant. And until that gets resolved, the applicant is advised or recommended not to proceed with the final application. Number 4 talks about the wetland setbacks. So the wetland setbacks this is on the waterfront lot, the road front lot is outside of the jurisdiction. The wetland setbacks are 125 feet for structures, 100 feet for the landscaping and clearing as we discussed, and I think 150 feet for the septic. Matt noted in here that once you apply those setbacks in the R60 zoning setbacks, maybe the lot might be a little constrained. It's hard to tell. So he's just asking for a building envelope plan with the final application to show that you could get improvements on there that conform with all of the requirements. He also notes in here that there's relief built into the town code. It's under 330-83K, which gives the Wetlands Approving Authority the ability to reduce certain zoning setbacks in order to meet wetland setbacks. Whether or not that relief is applicable to this lot, we don't know. That's going to be subject to interpretation, but Matt correctly put it in the report, so the applicant could look into that. Number 5 relates to the archaeological report that's being required. Number 6, Matt's recommending a single common driveway for this. while the road itself is not particularly heavily traveled, it is a waterfront lot. There are wetlands. So to try to reduce impervious surfaces, we try to get a common driveway. So I think that that's reasonable. Number 7 is to increase the conservation easement to 100 feet. I think that's good. Compliance with the Division of Fire Prevention as applicable. Compliance with the requirements of the engineer. Requirement for health department approval for a final application. And submission of, with the final application, health department and the archaeological report. I believe Brian Locasio is here on behalf of the applicant based on an email I got today. I didn't think he had any.
Is he here?
He's here, and I'm also here to answer any questions the board may have.
I'm just confused as to how we're handling the lawsuit. So we're not stayed, we're issuing a report. If it takes 2 years for a determination to be made, a lawsuit, do we then review our recommendations again? Or how are we handling this?
Well,
excuse me, may I answer
sorry
that?
about that. Sorry about that, Kathleen.
Thank you. So there's no, Robin, as you know, there's no stay in place. So we proceed with the application. Should at the end of this process, the Supreme Court, decide that we shouldn't be proceeding, that's the applicant's risk if we have to start over, or if, the court deems that the adjacent property owner is entitled to be a party to that covenant amendment, then we just start over again. It's really at the applicant's risk. And again, because the objector hasn't asked or sought a stay in Supreme Court, there's nothing that would stop us from acting, and it's really not appropriate for us to not act at this point. So we should just treat this, notwithstanding the litigation, we should just continue to move forward.
Okay, I would just ask if you look at that, Kathleen, just make sure the language regarding the discussion of the amendment in court is in compliance with what you just said.
It's just a recommendation that it's a recommendation to the applicant that they wait until the litigation is resolved, but there's nothing forcing them or compelling them to wait.
Okay.
And if the board's not comfortable with that language, we can take it out.
No, I'm just comfortable. I'll be comfortable with anything you're comfortable with. I just wanted to make sure that that was that we looked at that and we don't, do anything that cause us legal problems.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is Brian here?
I am here.
Okay. Oh, there you are. Good. Any questions, Brian?
No, I've had a chance to review this with my client and Matt, and we are in agreement and comfortable with all the terms. So
great. Okay. So
we
can I have a
appreciate
motion to approve?
Motion.
By Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Jackie Finlan, you're up. Curtis, Heimowitz and Nussbaum.
Yes, Charles, if you could please let in Heather Wright for Curtis and Nussbaum.
He's coming in.
So we have to be out of here at 5:30. So
okay,
we just have a bunch of completions, which won't take very long. Some re-veges and some sign. I think we'll be all right.
Okay. And Charles, you were able to get Heather?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Okay, so the pre-application report was in your packet. I would like to discuss this in general with the board today, so we can hopefully move through this very quickly, but I wanted to show you the surrounding area. This is a subject parcel, which is actually being split into 3 fairly evenly. The northern portion is going to this flag lot, the western portion is going to this lot, and the eastern portion is going to this lot. There was a subdivision of C Tuck Park, which established all of these lots as buildable lots, and it also established a 20-foot drainage easement, which extended all the way and essentially I think acknowledged there was existing low terrain in this area and then also allowed for drainage. Although we would not recommend this now, allowed drainage to passively move to the water and to the creek in this area. So this is a zoomed in portion where you can see that the 3 properties that are splitting this are existing improved properties. Some of them do have deer fences, which will have to be made to comply. But the area of wetlands is in this location here, and most likely a result of the drainage easement that was previously imposed. This is just a little bit clearer aerial that we received in 2021. So here I will zoom this in for you. So I think the bulk of our conversation today is that we were made aware that there were wetlands on the property. The wetlands had never been flagged before, and I did confirm that within the Environment Division. And in 2002, without, I think, the knowledge of any wetlands, or maybe not even a presence of extreme wetlands in this area, these structures were all provided with a CFC. So this tennis court provided a CSC in 2002, which I have in the record. So when we're looking at this for compliance with wetlands, I don't have any real issues. This property can comply with the 75-foot conservation easement that I'm recommending. This can as well. So it really comes down to how close the wetlands are to this property, which is improved and has these accessory structures and uses along this northwestern boundary. So my recommendation would be to comply with the 75-foot for improved structures in this area. So bring the 75 feet all the way around to this area here. And because of the close proximity of the tennis court, which does have a legal CFC, I would recommend, as we've done in the past, one of my recent recollections is we did something similar on a tennis court that was in close proximity to wetlands, would be establish a reasonable buffer in this area. Because wetlands could change, and the intent is to not build in this location. So comply on this side, and then 25 feet is what I've measured in that green smaller dashed line.
So they would be 25 feet from the wetlands.
Correct.
As opposed to 75?
Correct. It's an existing situation. But the blue, Jackie, is me. I have scaled out the 75.
Yeah. So would they get that portion in this division of that parcel?
Yeah, so if you see this line right here, hopefully you can see my cursor.
That would go to.
This is, so this is the part that is going to this lot, and then this is the part that is going to that lot, and then this northern section is going to that lot.
I see, right.
Yeah. So I think that's the most reasonable path in this situation, since the structures were there and this was issued to CFC, and these were actually shown on the survey at that time. I just don't think we knew that the wetlands were there when those were issued. But I think that's a reasonable solution right now. And I just wanted to show you that this was the subdivision of Seatuck Park, sorry. So this is the lot right here. So you can see that essentially what we're doing is we are eliminating a developable parcel. Even though there are wetlands, a house could be put here, as well as impacts from a sanitary system and multiple structures.
So the wetlands in 1970 were just never
there was actually no wetland restrictions. That wetland restrictions, I believe, started in the early 90s with the town. And they were aware probably that there was a natural kind of swale in this area. I did look at the topo, and there is just a natural, it's mild, it's not very noticeable, but there's a natural drainage course. So I think they tried to define that along the back of the properties. It's kind of hard to see on the map. But essentially it rides down this boundary, and it's essentially 10 feet on each side. So on the revised plans, I asked for that to be shown so that we can basically show what is already there. But that drainage may have led to the wetlands, and it does, based upon a site visit, it does actually jump the road there. You can tell that it's wet in this location. And the wetlands are right here. So, it ponded probably because we're getting heavier storm events, but then it does passively go over the road here. And there's almost like a mosquito ditch right here that it follows.
Would there be any inclination for them to remove those two small accessories to the tennis court?
You know what, I'll let Heather speak to that.
The
The 20, yeah, the 25, sorry, when I'm in full screen mode, I can't zoom in as well. With the 25-foot buffer, this is just my scale, so it's not exact, but I did ask for all of the wetland setbacks to be shown on a revised map. But the putting green, based upon my scale, would be the only thing that would be impacted right in this location.
But is there any inclination, is what I'm asking Heather?
Yeah, no, there's not actually. I think what we have to remember here is that, we're removing what could be a buildable lot, and, they're dividing we're dividing this into the three parcels, and this particular parcel, 47 Cedar, is sort of taking the brunt because of the location of these wetlands, which we weren't aware of prior to this application. But that putting green was installed at the same time the tennis court was CC'd in 2002. And, I think what my clients have done, all three of them actually, is a really good thing, is what we want to see, what we want people to do. And they're actually preserving a whole lot. So what would we be comfortable with? And I think you can see the fence line, the deer fencing line, anything behind that, which is currently in a natural state, we'd be comfortable with that being a buffer. I don't know the exact measurement. It would be close to the 25, but it's not. I think it's probably a little less than that. But in front of that fence is very mature vegetation and landscaping that has been in place since 2002. In fact, the tennis court is the result of a variance that was issued, and the condition of the variance was to maintain the existing vegetation along Cedar Lane. And if you look at it, and I can share my screen and show you a picture, it sort of all connects together and has been there quite a long time. I think it would be a shame to ask the applicant to remove that vegetation, especially when what they're trying to accomplish here, it removes a buildable lot. And if I could share my screen, I can show you I don't know if any of you've been to the site, but I can show you what we're talking about. So this is what we're talking about here. So this is behind the tennis court. You can see all the mature vegetation, and it runs along Cedar Lane, right? And then if I scroll down, sorry, I'm not great at this.
Oh, that's substantial. So yeah.
Yeah, and then look at this here. This is the other part. So this is the I guess this is the chipping, you'd call it on the survey. It's the chipping area. This is the chipping area. So you can see the vegetation here. Right behind it is the fencing that's noted on the survey, and behind that fencing, which would be where the drainage easement is located, it's all natural vegetation, and we have no intention of disturbing that.
Good. Picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Heather and I were lucky to finally get to the site and see it. So you do have that existing landscaping screening, and then right beyond that is all native vegetation.
So are there any questions from the board? So Jackie, you'll prepare a report for next week, right?
I actually have a report prepared, not paired.
I don't think we've read it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask the planning board though, because my only issue with this lot line modification is the wetlands. So if the planning board's comfortable, we can either adopt the report now, it's ready, and if you've reviewed it, it's ready to go. But also I think it would be suitable in this case to waive the final application and proceed with sending a 292-39B referral so we can memorialize the wetland setbacks with the conservation board. And then we could move forward with, once I get the information from them and the updates to the survey, we could move forward with a final conditional approval. If the board's amenable, that would mean that we would need an extension of the action deadline, or we could adopt the pre-app report and then I can bring it all back to you once I have the information.
I think that makes sense. I'd like to see it all back, but I think it makes sense if we can do two things at once to save the applicant time.
Right.
Yeah, so I think we can expedite this, and if I just wanted to see the board's comfort level, and
I think it seems appropriate. Yeah.
And once I get to Heather, I just would need those minor survey, the minor
Mhm.
survey setbacks, so I can know exactly what those measurements are, and that would help me prepare the 29239B referral.
That's fine. I don't think I've seen the pre-app report though.
Oh, sorry, I can give it to you. It
That would be
basically
great. I'd like
outlines.
to review that.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you'd like, I can send that to you. We can just extend the deadline today. And then so you're aware of the setbacks that I need to know, which allows me to move forward with the compliance with 325.
Okay, and just
So
to be
we're
clear,
asking for an extension to what, December 9th? The next session?
Heather, it kind of depends, maybe
Heather,
December
is that good
16th.
for you, or do you want more time?
I think it'll all depend on how quickly I can get the surveyor to update the survey. It's fine. I'd like to keep it if that's possible, because I'd like to move this along.
Yeah, how
So-
about we do December 16th, and if we have everything we need, I'm happy to move forward with it on December 9th. But that
Extension to
way it
December
gets the
16th.
surveyor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so just so that I'm clear, I just want to make sure, so the board is comfortable with the existing conditions, but behind the vegetation and, you know, sort of where the fence line where the drainage easement is, that will remain natural.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Jackie, just one question. I see that some of that vegetation is landscaped as opposed to natural. Would it be appropriate to, as part of this final application, that there's no fertilizer and stuff on that part of the property, since it's going into wetlands that's eventually going into a creek? I don't know the appropriateness of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, normally we would be, the 25-foot would be establishing a non-disturbance, non-fertilization. So if the board's comfortable with the existing vegetation in there, I can add that we acknowledge that there are some non-native plants there, but essentially appropriate buffer will be established. And once I get the measurements, we can discuss the actual, you know, size. But what I showed you on that visual was 25 feet. I think what Heather's saying is she would like to keep everything native, basically beyond that existing fence. But I think if we can establish and just acknowledge that we're fine with the landscaping staying there, and that would be non-disturbance, non-fertilization, I think that's a good solution.
Okay, so we need a motion on an extension to December 16th.
Motion.
By Glorian, motion by Glorian, second by Robin, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Okay, thank you, Heather.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jackie, a reminder. It's 4
Yes,
o'clock.
I know.
What's the status of Brit Petroleum? Is Claire still there, or?
I'm gonna go find her.
Okay. Claire? Oh, because she's up next. So on the completeness,
if you'd like, I can move forward with my other one, which is number 10, Stephen Perrone.
okay. Yeah, without too much detail, if it's complete and we can schedule a public hearing, let's go for that.
Sure. Would you like to look at the plan, or you want to just move forward?
Is it complete?
It is complete, yeah.
And you want to set a public hearing for?
Yes, this one I was recommending for January 27th so that the 13 doesn't.
Oh, January 27, okay.
Yeah, Jackie, my notes on this was that it looks like there was a lot of stuff missing on the checklist, and I'm wondering, was that an old version?
No, no, there are some minor items. I had a discussion with Bob Smith, which is why I'm also recommending the January 27th date. But Bob Smith is of Squires and Holden and Weisenbacher. He is the surveyor and the applicant's representative, and he is already and he's already making those revisions. So that's also why I pushed it to January 27th to give him time to get me all of that.
Okay, so when we're deeming it complete, the clock starts, so.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. It's minor things that he already had a lot of them under control.
Okay, so a motion to deem this complete, set a public hearing for the 27th by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. So number 10 is done. Claire, any update on?
Yeah, I was on the phone with him. As a reminder, he's just talking to his attorney. Am I
Okay.
getting feedback?
Not for me. So.
Okay, do you want to then move on to your GTB real estate?
Yes. So Kyle would be on this, Kyle Collins, if you could let him in. Charles.
He's in.
This one, in the interest of time, since we're running out of it, this one you've reviewed before. We've had a pre-submission report. You had done seeker on this project, and they pretty much were coming down to the wire in terms of conformance with the special exception criteria. Any special concerns from the board when they looked at the report? There's a lot to it. But,
I did only in terms of lighting.
Okay.
You know, I've done some research about these mini golf courses and particularly where this is cited, if they're operating until 10, 11 at night, which this one will, how can we manage the lighting so that the neighborhood is not impacted, trying to head off any controversy before we start doing it at the planning stage? Kyle, do you have any suggestions?
Kyle Collins, KPC Planning Services, 16 Library Avenue, West Hampton Beach, here on behalf of the applicant, JTB Realty Group. Again, as I stated in the public hearing process, the town board has recently amended the lighting code. The plan is designed to that, which that amendment was designed to minimize impacts to adjacent properties. Meets the 3,000 Kelvin. If you look at the foot candle data, obviously we would turn off the lighting after the hours of operation associated with the mini golf facility. I don't know what else to say about that.
Just a little clarification, Kyle. The at the hearing you said 10 or 11, but the site plan says 12. So
well, the 12 is, if you look at the language on the site plan, that's the standard language that's in the code. But we can condition because my clients do not are fine with having the mini golf ending as it relates to 11 o'clock for the mini golf. The remainder of the lighting on the site as it relates to, providing a safe environment within the parking lot. So those will be, again, typically the board has said at a minimum, the lighting shall be turned off at least a maximum of an hour after the close of operations associated with the restaurant or any use, but in this case, it would be a restaurant.
okay, maybe additional language regarding the mini golf being shut off at 11.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
After we finish this staff report, what's the next step in the process?
A draft decision for your consideration. That's the action deadline on December 9th.
Just so you know, we did take a look at Claire's report. We're comfortable with, the items that are contained. In fact, the the applicant's engineer has revised the plan to address, I would say, the majority of the concerns. I did tell Claire I forwarded her those electronically, but I'm going to drop off a copy tomorrow to both her and to the town engineers for their review to confirm that all the issues that were raised have been addressed. So that I think back when you get to the December 9th hearing, you'll have a level of comfort that all those items have been addressed.
And then we do not see this application again?
That would be a conditional approval that I would be recommending on the 9th. Yep.
So like there'll be no, this is approving the whole site plan as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when I reviewed this, the one thing we hadn't talked about at all was sustainability issues, which is why I was asking where we fit in the process.
Yeah, that was a question, Kyle. Do you have any answer with really just like maybe providing solar?
I briefly discussed it with my clients with reference to solar. I think they're looking into it. I do know that in terms of the structure itself, The enhanced insulation has been over and above what the New York State Energy as well as the town code is required, simply because it makes sense from an operational point of view. Obviously, if you put in some money in terms of that on the front end, the costs associated with heating that place will benefit and the cost will be less. So I do know that they're doing that in terms of, some green components. In terms of the solar, they have not made a determination at this point, but they are looking into it.
What about electric? You have a lot of parking. Any electric charging stations? I'm speaking for Dennis.
I'll discuss it with my clients. That's the first time it's come up, I'm sure, because of the way things are going these days.
Yeah.
It probably makes sense. So,
And
yes,
plug in, have a round of mini golf and come back and you'll be charged.
exactly. No, I think that's a great suggestion, and I will discuss it with my
The
client.
revenue generators, you dip your card in and
Yep.
And just so you know, Kyle, we're kind of using the 1 to 20 ratio for like a handicap space to date. So just so you know.
In terms of EV?
The number you'd provide.
Okay.
Yeah, just, it's just what we think
A
so far.
guideline at this point?
Yeah, like a guideline. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Thank you.
So we're going to see this again.
You're going to see this again. Take a good look at it. You've had it since the packet is available, but I don't see any huge issues. Definitely some tweaks with Kyle. We'll talk back and forth, and the town engineer does need to sign off before a decision on this. But you've looked at it a couple times.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood. So we are going to see this again
On December 9th
on December 9th. Okay.
for a draft decision. on the
And just
project.
one update from the report, the ARB did review it twice. Most recently, this past Tuesday, they looked at the specific materials and color board, and they recommended approval of the project.
Yeah, I'll add that to the report. Okay. Great. So no action with that if everybody's comfortable.
Seriously, look at solar, please.
Yeah.
Must be somewhere that you could do it.
Okay.
Who's doing
Great.
Cornish
Thanks, Kyle.
Family?
I am.
Excellent.
I'm doing the rest of Matt's items.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thanks,
Thank
Kyle.
you. I think Cordis is going to be Joe Lombardi, I believe. If he's present. Oh, the Rayner Group. Charles. I'm going to share my screen.
Coming in,
for this one.
coming in now.
Okay, great. This is to consider the application complete, a standard 2-lot subdivision. This is a recommendation, it is a type 2 action. So there's going to be a second lot here, and this is the plan that's proposed. So the application is complete, and we're recommending a public hearing for January 13th on the matter. And you had asked for an archaeological review on this, and it came back and concluded there was no recommendations for further investigation.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we'll deem this complete and schedule a public hearing for January 13th.
Please.
Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. Is Anthony here?
Yep.
Yes,
I'm
there
right
you
here.
are. The Farrell Butter Lane.
Yep, you might recall you had previously considered extending and renewing a pre-application report for a 4-lot subdivision on Butter Lane. It was an industrial subdivision. Let me just share my screen here.
So we did not modify it. So this is a new one, right?
This is a new one. So these are the properties. It's 2 properties. This is Butter Lane. There's a lot of industrial uses. These are the properties in question. The applicant did submit a new application. The only difference between this one and the one that we did previously is this one's a 3-lot plan as opposed to a 4-lot. So you had the 1 lot in the back with a flag strip, one over here and one over here. This one in the front was 2 initially. So now it's just a 3-lot plan. Have everything we need. They've already been.
It's a 3-lot plan or 2 lots, the whole property, isn't it?
Well, there's 2 separate tax parcels, but the total number of lots being created is 3.
Oh, I thought they were putting 4 storage buildings on the entire thing.
Well, we're going to get to that application next, yes. But there would be, I think, 2 on one property, yep.
But is this this a new site plan?
This is the subdivision application. The planning board asked the applicant to submit a new pre-application. You were not inclined to renew the last one. So that's what they did. So this is a 3-lot subdivision plan. You got 1 lot here shown in blue. It's hard to read because they're showing both existing and proposed. In blue here, this lot is 1 lot. The red lot in the back with a flag strip, that's a 2nd lot. And then this green lot is a 3rd lot.
Does this property still have violations on it?
Yes.
Have the violations been cured?
No.
No, but it's not in justice court, so there's no stay. These are just code violations. They've never been issued a stop work order.
Question mark, reason?
What's that, Robin? I'm sorry.
Curious why there's violations, no stop order, work order, or anything else done with this. How old are these violations?
There's a number of notice of violations that have been issued. There had been a stop work order that was issued. I forgot for what activity on the property. So there's a number of notice of violations. Code enforcement has been informed. I've submitted affidavits. Jackie's given information. So the town is aware of these violations. Right now, what we're looking at, Robin, is the pre-application for a subdivision, as well as, we'll get to it on the agenda, a pre-submission for the development of these lots. Neither one of these particular requests result in any approvals. As you know, they just result in reports being identified. Issues being identified. Obviously, the issues pertaining to the violations will be raised again. They were raised the first time around. But they're not getting any approvals at this point. They've just resubmitted applications. And my understanding is that the pre-submission conference application for the development of these properties was being submitted as part of the process to get the violations addressed.
So Anthony, why would they do a subdivision before? Why wouldn't they just come into for a site plan?
That's a question we could ask for Kyle, but they've opted to do a subdivision to create 3 separate parcels.
And then, okay, it's confusing because the site plan uses all of this land mass, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I'd like to know, it's very confusing to do both a subdivision and a site plan.
Well, to be quite honest, you did one, I forgot the name of it. It was a subdivision. I want to say it was in Tuckahoe, but I could be wrong about that. Not too long ago with special trade contractor uses. You reviewed both simultaneously. The applicant just wants to have 3 separate lots that they could sell off with the use that's being considered.
So we have to take the subdivision into consideration when we're looking at a site plan.
100%.
In terms
And that's
of
why,
placement of buildings, et cetera.
100%. And that's why I'm sort of pressing the board to move forward with the pre-submission and the pre-application at the same time, because as we discussed under SECRA, I want to look at all these issues, obviously, at the same time. Today I'm recommending that we schedule the pre-submission conference, the pre-application here for the subdivision and the pre-submission conference for the development of these lots for the same meeting. So that way you could be presented with the development of these lots at the same time and look at everything as a whole.
The pre-submission is in the evening on the 27th.
The pre-application and the pre-submission will both be in the evening on the 27th.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes.
And so this application is just for the subdivision, and I was just recommending scheduling the pre-submission conference, the pre-application conference for January 27th.
And you'll have more information for us before then?
Well, yeah, the subdivision is just this is just a 3-lot subdivision. This is
Access, we see access and we see formation, right?
Yep. And then the pre-submission conference shows how these properties will be developed in terms of parking and building layout and access and all that stuff.
And how they're going to cure the violations by this action.
I'll have you talk to the applicant about that.
I'm sorry.
Bite your tongue, Ronnie.
I'm not sorry.
I want to say something, but I shan't.
Thank you.
Okay, so our action here is,
To deem the subdivision application of Farrell Butter Lane.
is it complete? Should we look at this?
It is complete. I like I always do the review for you guys. I did the checklist. Everything's good.
And you want to schedule a conference for a public
A public hearing for the pre-application.
January 27th.
On January 27th.
Okay, so let's take that first. Do I have a motion to deem this complete and set a hearing for January 27th? Zuccarelli, motion by Zuccarelli, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. Do you want to jump now to 13 or what?
That's up to you. I could do that.
Let's do that.
Okay. Doing it now.
Well, this is now 225, 251 Butter Lane. They call it something else. This is the site plan on this subdivision.
Yes. What was that, Gloria?
I said that's just to confuse us.
I don't quite know unless they are planning to sell off those lots. I don't know.
Yep. So this then is the application that they're showing for the development of the 3 lots. What they're showing here, Jackie, you got the 1 lot over here, they're showing a building on it. You got the 2nd lot back here, they're showing a building on it. And then you have the 3rd lot here, which they're showing 2 buildings on it. So that's where you're getting the 4 buildings from. It's 2 on 1 lot. It looks like they're proposing a single access point to access all 3 properties, which we like. Not sure what's going on over here, but we'll have the applicant present that at the pre-submission conference. But so you do have a plan, to develop these lots. So that's what you're looking at. It's a lot of square footage. It's going to be over 50 parking spaces. So when we get to a formal application, if we get to that point, it'll be a type 1 action under SECRA. And we're going to look at the subdivision and the development under the same review.
So in the site plan, it looks like they would remove the building, the structure that's there.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Anthony, can you zoom in a little bit? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Let me just go back up here, Craig. Whoops. Okay.
So these are storage units, right?
These are going to be mini storage units. Yep.
Different sizes, different configurations.
Yeah, it's a lot of square footage. Like I said, it ultimately would be a type 1, but the total is 158,000 square feet of all buildings.
Right.
On that subdivision, didn't the property line on the lot to the right go to the left of the access road?
Yeah, you were looking at the existing lot lines because there's 2 separate lots there. So what you were seeing was an existing lot line, not the proposed subdivision line.
Where does it fall in this configuration?
So here, this is the first lot right here.
Yeah.
The second lot in the back is this lot back here with the flag strip.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 3rd lot sits over here.
All right, thanks.
Are there architectural drawing renderings?
There are. They unfortunately, they're really hard to see on Zoom. But
2-story storage buildings?
Yes.
Oh,
We're
And
gonna
so
have,
we're looking at, prefabricated Morton style buildings.
we're gonna have
And
an opportunity to look
obviously
at this the pre-application conference. I mean, I'm just kind of tracking the time here a little bit.
I know.
Okay, sorry,
Trying to
Dennis.
do something about these scheduling issues, and
We're going to schedule it for January 27th is my recommendation.
Okay. Motion for the pre-submission conference for January 27th by Craig, second by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Okay, what can we accomplish quickly here? We have Perone. Jackie, is that a completeness?
We acted on that
We
before.
did that. Okay, so we have Toscano. Well, that's Secra. Oh, boy.
Claire's going to do that.
Sorry, we have to coordinate our turning off and turning on. So yeah, Anthony Toscano, I will share my screen. Oh, and the person for this is Chris Barlato.
Okay.
Great, thank you. This is the aerial that shows the vacant piece of property. That's feedback.
Take my mute off.
Okay. Sorry about that. So that's the aerial, and this is the proposal. You deemed it incomplete not too long ago. They're proposing 6 units for special trade contractor. It's in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District and the Pine Barrens. They're proposing about 62% clearing on the property with the purchase of Pine Barren credits, which is something we've typically done along this road to give a little bit of leeway to projects, because there's a 50% limit in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District for lots such as this. But with the purchase of Pine Barren credits, they can get to 62%, and makes sense. Then we're preserving the lands somewhere else for the project. So I just want to show you the architecture, which is pretty standard Morton type building for this area. So you can see that would be the front of the building facing the road. It's a nice long building. And then we're recommending a negative declaration. It's an unlisted action in the zone. And an explanation was attached related to the action description, character and quality of the existing community. And this is the information related to the waiver you're going to grant up to the 62% clearing on the property with the purchase of Pine Barren credits.
Does this Beyond Plume come to this property?
It may, yes, I believe it does. And that way, I think there's just going to be no basement in this case. It's on a slab.
So, I mean, do you flag that here in this report?
I do not, but it's definitely something we can add. We have some standard language we can add to the project.
Yeah, they may need a soil vapor barrier.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. I can definitely add that.
Type
Okay.
1? Is it type 1?
This is an unlisted action.
Is it, did you talk to them about the architecture at all, or?
That's a good question. I'm sorry, this is Matt's. So, but yes, we probably wouldn't want to dress up the front. You want to just look at that one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. That's what we did on the one across the street. If you can remember, there was a plumber, I think, or something. Can't remember the name.
It's a plumber.
Yeah.
I know
dressed
that
up-
building intimately.
And we just took it around the corner a little bit, in this case, maybe we could take it around this corner.
A stone apron?
Yeah, just a little bit of dressing up here, so we can look at that.
Possible cupola. I mean, as long as we're not relinquishing our, our ability to address aesthetics through the secret determination. I mean, it's in the EAF visual. What's the category for visual?
Yeah, so let's just take a peek at that right now. So that would be character number 8. So that would be, we would want to have some language that it's be subject to ARB and planning board review. Similar presentation to the road shall have features that are typical for this area, this area, something to that effect. We'd be comfortable with that.
that way, if we run into any issues, we always have, as long as it's a secret issue, right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely add some language to that. Chris, do you want to wait, just introduce yourself? And if you're agreeable to that, I'll just add some language.
Sure, yeah, Chris Barletta from San Pebble, 3 Walker Court, East Quad, on behalf of the owner. Yeah, they wouldn't have any issue. The front of the building, they were trying to think of a way to come up with it. Stone's not an issue. If you were talking about like a stone, like or something like
Stone
that,
apron, yeah.
and wrap it around. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't think they'd have any issue with that at all.
Maybe like an overhang that kind of continues along. That would be like presentation to the front, something to that effect. But yeah, as we said, I've done the plumber across the streets, West Hampton Glass, obviously was recent. So we can give you some examples to look at with that.
Yeah,
okay.
no
But I'll
issue
add
with-
some language.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, no issue.
Everybody comfortable? Everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I'm recommending the negative declaration and to schedule the public hearing. I believe this one is for January 9th, 13th.
13th.
Yep.
Okay, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Thank you.
My next one is the bridge, staff
Staff
housing.
housing.
Yep. So Jake Watkins would be the one for this one, Charles, if you don't mind. This one, we had an extensive conversation at a work session at the last meeting, which was very productive. I thought everybody understood what we're doing in terms of the application. There were some questions. They did some adjustments to the EAF Part 1. It correctly identified there's no wetlands on the property. There was some additional information provided. So they've adjusted that. And they also provided a new, there was some question about the laundry facility for the new room. So they've provided an additional floor plan that includes a laundry facility and a pantry. Do you want me to show it to you, or if that's good, we'll go forward. So otherwise they've addressed all your issues. This would be a recommendation for a negative declaration and schedule the public hearing for January 13th.
So they actually do have 16 units now, but they also have laundry somewhere else.
Yes, yes. And Jake Watkins is here to verify that.
Question, I was looking at, just going back over the original time we did this. I thought we had a December 9th public hearing date for this.
We can't squeeze it on for December 9th.
Claire, is there anything this is Jake Watkins from Roger.
No, there's nothing we can do.
There's been zero public comment on this. It's an amendment to a previous application. There's been zero public comment on it previously for the previous application as well. I think it'd be a very quick review.
Is there sufficient time to notice it, Claire? No, there's not sufficient time to notice it. So we can't.
When's
So
the
January 13th.
But you could waive the public hearing, which is not what you indicated at the last hearing meeting, but you could, the applicants could probably be asking you to waive the public hearing if you're so inclined.
We go to the 13th? Is that?
We go to January 13th.
From the 9th, there's no public hearings from the 9th?
Till the 13th.
Till the 13th.
There's no evening on the December 16th.
Right.
But, and then January 13th is our first, Yeah.
Would it be possible to waive the public hearing? Like I said, this is, again, it's an amendment. There was a public hearing previously, so it wouldn't be like there wasn't a public hearing at all for this project. And it's 1,000 feet from anybody seeing it at all.
Was there any comments at the other public hearing?
No, zero.
There were zero?
Zero throughout this whole process.
There's been to date just a pre-submission conference and there was no public comments.
Well, let's just waive it and do a 30-day written comment.
And do a 30-day written comment period.
I would concur.
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm good.
So may I have a motion to
adopt a negative declaration and waive the public hearing with a 30-day written comment period.
Correct.
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by Zuccarelli, all in favor, opposed, abstentions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we've done 225 to the Avedon Foundation, scheduling a public pre-submission conference.
Claire, what is the status of Bridge Petroleum?
Bridge Petroleum, Claire?
Oh, sorry.
Before you leave.
I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find out right now.
Yeah, if we do not hear back from him, we have to take a vote on it, right?
I gotta go now.
Yeah,
Claire,
well,
we
that's
only
a
have an
deadline.
hour. Claire, we're on deadline. We only have an hour. You'd have to amend your the EAF, and then we'd have to act before 5:30.
I know. So what I have is, could you?
Oops, sorry.
Do you want us to go keep moving forward and you go find out something? Or
Well, I'm
what?
going to find out. I did speak to him after the fact, and I told him, the reality of it. But what I have is the original PAS deck from 2019, and I have your comments of a part 2 from when you asked for the traffic study, where you identified that there was 3 issues with traffic that you were concerned about. So we could obviously do that document, and I'm ready to present that to you if we need to. But I think we'll probably get an extension at least till December 9th, and then get some estimates to go forward. Okay.
Okay, so
Thank you.
listen, I would like to do the extensions first and get them done because they're quick, all right?
Oh, can we
You
do the
have one,
Richard
the-
Avedon so I can go ask? Because I've got extensions too, don't I? Do I?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Who's doing Matthews extensions?
I am. So let me just ask about if you do the Richard Avedon, that'll give me enough time to ask
Okay,
the
great.
question. Thank
All
you.
right, Anthony, you're Avedon.
Okay, just real quick then, number 14, Richard Avedon. This is a new, I'm gonna find it, application. Hold on, just bear with me. Okay. Seem to have lost. Hold on.
It's a construction of a 5,000 square foot building.
Yep, so this is a property on the bridge in Noyak. It is a CR 200 zoning district, aquifer protection overlay district. The applicant submitted a pre-submission conference request to develop this property. Let me just get it up here. With a 5,000 square foot metal building and associated parking, associated with a building to be used in connection with the Richard Avedon Foundation, the photographer. I believe the interpretation that we got from the prior building inspector was that it was classified as a fraternal or social organization, which is a special exception use in the CR 200 zoning district. And so the applicant has submitted, as you can see here, a building with associated parking, including looks like some the parking, land bank parking. And they submitted some elevations for a metal building. The pre-submission conference would be for January 27th. At which time the planning board would be presented with the design team to go over the project in detail.
So do we have to go through special exception findings?
You will eventually, sure. Yeah.
And is this, the access is off the road to the golf course, or is it off Millstone?
Let's see here. Bear with me, sorry. There you go, Gloria. It's right off of the road here, the bridge. Let me zoom in.
Okay, so you actually have to go into the.
Into it, yeah. You can see. Yep.
Got it.
And so I'm recommending January 27th as well.
Okay, so motion to deem it complete and schedule a public hearing for 27 at Glorian, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor.
And Jackie, just so I could get out of your hair and go prepare for ZBA, I have number 16, and that's an extension of the action deadline for conservation opportunity subdivision to do the pre-app report from 11/24/21, from November 24th, 21 to December 9th.
So we're extending it to December 9th. Motion?
That's it.
Motion by Gloria and second by Robin. All in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor.
This is the Halsey property, right?
That's right. That's right.
And
No.
Claire, anything?
Oh, I'm sorry, Claire.
Okay, Bridgehampton Petroleum. Number 3 is an extension till December 9th.
Okay.
We're gonna get estimates too, so I'll be working on the
Yeah,
estimates.
so motion for an extension for Bridge Petroleum to December 9th. Motion by Robin, second by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, extension, 6 in favor.
That's for
Okay,
seeker, right?
That's for
Secrets.
seeker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. And
okay.
what are we up to now?
Well, we have Passanelli, but let's do the extensions, because you have the Atlantic Golf Course, it's the extension.
Yep, that is also an extension till December 9th.
Okay, motion. Motion by Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor. Opposed, extension, 6 in favor to December 9th. Jackie had a walk-on M4 lumber to January 13th.
Yes,
This is a walk-on, yeah.
this is a walk-on, yes, for
Okay.
M4 lumber.
Okay, motion to January 13th by Zuccarelli, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
I oppose, abstention, 6 in favor. Claire, you're doing math?
Yep.
We have 15, or are you?
Yeah, can
We've done
we,
16, 17, and then a walk-on, which doesn't have a number.
No, but we've got.
We have Passanelli Management.
Yes.
That's Jackie Fenlon. Let's do that.
yes, so this is an application, they're establishing a new farming use. Because of that, they have to clear a total of 9.3516 acres of land. They currently cleared about 4.5 acres. They are in court on those proceedings, but they are working on rectifying the violations. I spoke with their attorney today, and this is to set a pre-submission conference, as this is an unlisted action and it's disturbing greater than 2,000 square feet, which requires a pre-submission conference. Would you like to see any of the plans? I know we're trying to move fast.
If you don't mind, just real quick.
Sure. So this is the aerial here. The property comes down from Old Country Road. They're not proposing access here. There is actually like a deeded right of way, which is this light green line. This is the area here. I wanted to show you this because we do have concerns about the clearing and how it impacts the creek, which is another reason to review this through SECRA. They have started clearing this area here, which is depicted on the site plan. There are 2 pre-existing non-conforming structures, which are residences, which were just recently issued certificates of occupancy. And this is a close-up, so you can see the 2 structures here. There was an existing apple orchard, and this is the area of disturbance, one of the violations within the court proceedings. And then this is the site plan right here. So it shows you this clearing here, and then it shows the overall clearing, which is the full 9 acres here.
So Kathleen, we can proceed even though it's in court.
Yes, actually, I have spoken with Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge, who's handling the matter in Justice Court, and compliance at the Planning Board is what they're looking for in Justice Court. So we really do need to proceed on this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what kind of a public hearing?
This is a pre-submission conference.
Pre-submission,
Yes.
January 27th?
Yes.
I thought it was the 13th on the,
Oh, sorry, let me see.
and you have 21 instead of 22.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, yeah, the 13th. Sorry about that.
January 13th, okay. So a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. We've got
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 site disturbance that
Yep.
Matthew is handling. Who's handling those?
I am. So the first
Yeah,
one's
Claire, yeah.
Eastwood. Yeah, Eastwood's at Wainscott. I can just show you very briefly. This is to rectify some clearing that happened in this buffer. You can see the buffer area there. Can you see that on the screen?
Mhm.
Yep, so this is to rectify that and to revegetate. So this is the resolution to approve the revegetation plan for this project. Any questions?
Okay. I have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Robin, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Okay, the Noyak Hills Estates, lot number 10.
Yep, I'll share my screen again. About that. This is Noyak, yep, Hills
That's the one.
Estates.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep, it's in there. I just want to show you the aerial. So you can see that they've overcleared slightly. It's an undersized lot. So they definitely underscored there, but this is a proposal to vegetate as shown, and that would bring them into conformance. So that is the proposal to do that.
We have a motion.
Motion.
By Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Grun Bestitzer Corp., Noyak West, lot 1.
Yes, this was the subject of a discussion at the last meeting. Daphne Vaughn was the representative who represented the application on that, and you directed them to look to be in conformance, no additional clearing on the property. And they've done some redesigns for the project. I'll give you, I'll share the screen, and they are able to conform with no additional clearing on the property. This would be the proposal just to revegetate which was already disturbed. So bring them back into conformance. So that's the resolution that is presenting now, and I'll just show you the plan. That's the aerial that we were talking about. And this is the plan that shows them bringing back into conformance and then no additional clearing on the property. Do you want to hear from Daphne at all? But I think that's how you directed her in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a recommendation to do this revegetation plan.
I have a motion. By Gloria, second by Robin, all in favor. Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. Woodland Pines. Whippoorwill Lane.
Hi, yeah.
Jackie,
So
hi. Yep.
Hi, how are you? So I wrote up the resolution, but everyone seemed comfortable with it. This is the one with Rosemary Barone, 33
yes.
Whippoorwill Lane. So we went over all the detail of it, and I just wrote up the very detailed calculations of everything. So I have that for you.
Okay, but I think we've had a fairly extensive discussion on this, right?
We have, and everyone
Yeah.
seemed comfortable at the last meeting,
Right.
so I formalized it. Just to show you, this is the sending parcel, this is the receiving parcel. This is the subject property, which will be revegetated with the 60-foot buffer in the back.
Right.
This is the buffer. And sorry, one of the clarifications, I sent the resolution to Rosemary Barone. She cannot attend this afternoon, but she reviewed it. And the only thing she asked me to edit, which I can do, is that the buffer is technically 59.7 feet, and I referenced it as 60, which is negligible, but in terms of clearing, it might change the clearing restrictions, so.
Okay.
Okay, so I have that
We have a
resolution
motion,
prepared.
a motion to approve. I don't think we.
Yeah, sure, and I'm just gonna articulate the 59.7 for her.
Yeah, exactly. I have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Whippoorwill by Robin. Motion by Robin, second by Dennis. All in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. We had 2 town board referrals.
And I'm going to handle those, the historic landmark designations.
Yeah.
One's for the Maples and the other
Yeah.
ones were known as Lafalat.
Right.
Do you, I think the reports were sent to you by Dave not too long ago. They seem pretty
were.
straightforward.
They were.
And they were also attached to a planning board actions in both instances, or ZBA actions. So they were anticipated that they would be designated as historic. So unless you have any questions, I think we can go
No.
forward.
I did a
And
visit
adopt
to the
both resolutions.
Naples, which is great. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
This is great. We want more of
So-
these.
So can I have a motion on that to, do we have to, what do we do?
Yeah, I want you the Maples first and then Lafalat.
Yeah, we'll do
second.
the Maples first, and can I have a motion to accept that?
Motion.
By Gloria and second by Robin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6 in favor. And then the
8 Studio
Lafalat.
Lane, Lafalat.
yeah. So that's on Studio Lane, at Shinnecock Hills. Can I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria and second by Dennis, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor. We have a couple of signed plans that we want to acknowledge. They've been signed. Crochito,
has been signed.
right? Jedi Holding,
Is actually off the agenda, so we can strike that.
okay. And the Hampton Bays District, Grobeski,
Is signed.
that is signed acknowledging that. Okay, Claire, it leaves you with our submission policy that we asked you to do, which I'm,
Yeah.
and we
Jack-
still have,
Jackie, would you mind, remember what you signed yesterday, the correction? I thought it would have made the agenda, but Middle Line Highway, the correction affidavit.
yeah.
Can we just
okay.
acknowledge that? I don't know why it didn't make the final agenda.
Okay, so we're acknowledging,
Yeah, just so the board is aware, there were several minor description errors on the survey that was filed. So this is the surveyor correcting that via affidavit, which will be filed with the county clerk's office.
so we're acknowledging that signature.
Yes, it's the correction affidavit. Yes, thank you.
Correction affidavit. Okay, Claire.
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the resolution?
Yeah, we've got some time now. Everybody can breathe. We have about 35 minutes.
Yay. Let's see this.
Maple, that's such a beautiful property.
Oh yeah, it's pretty special. Okay. I just try to keep it simple.
Okay, so
But just some background that sometimes needs additional information. Maybe the public brings back up an issue and you want reports, feedback from people. And so this just gives you time to receive it, us to look at it before we give it to you. And so this is recommendation for 8 days prior to any meeting.
are those consecutive days or work days, Claire? How do you?
I
want to do
would say consecutive days, not work days.
that? Okay, then I think you should say that.
Okay. 8 consecutive
8
days?
calendar days, calendar, how is it referred? Calendar days, yeah.
Calendar.
Perfect. Not a
And-
problem.
Now, what happens if we adopt this policy? Does it go into a binder somewhere and nobody's going to actually pay attention to it, or how what's the process moving forward?
Well, what we're going to do is send it to certain people.
I think one of the questions, I know Robin asked this of me and I didn't have an answer. Do we have a planning board policy book where some of our policies reside? So, because some new people on the board and they might not know.
Yep, that was a good question. And you asked at the staff meeting, we have those policies. Jackie and I have policies. They're in a folder and electronically, which we can just send an email. If you adopt this today, this would be probably number 5 or 6 of policies that you have. Not many.
Can I make a little suggestion?
Sure.
Make this part of the application process. Make a little checkbox when they submit their application, I affirm that I've read and agreed to abide by the planning board. I've read and agreed to abide by the planning board submission policy, and have a little checkbox, and we can attach the policy to the application, whether they want to read it or not. At least the applicants will know that they can't dump, documents the day before the meeting because they checked the box. They read it and agreed to it, right?
Excellent.
That's excellent idea, Dennis. Great.
I'll definitely suggest it. Definitely.
One good idea for the day. I'm done.
I was just going to say you earned your fee today.
Right. So we want to adopt this, right?
Suggest that, yeah.
Motion to adopt the submission policy for the planning board by Robin, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. I just want to ask, I discussed with Janice at some point, Claire, maybe you can pick up the ball for a work session policy.
Yes.
Which we've been waiting for some time, so.
Yeah,
that would
absolutely.
be terrific to do. And then when they're all together, maybe you could just email us a folder with those policies so that we can read them.
Right. Well, I can get you what you have to date, including this one, and then I'll speak to Janice about the work session. It's been my list of things to do. So
That's so helpful. Thank you so much, and thanks.
Jackie, did you also want to look at the admin policy? I mean, while we're policy oriented here.
Yeah, and we have a few minutes.
We have a few minutes. I'm not looking at it today, but the whole thing of admin approvals, I know you've brought that up a couple of times.
Yeah, admin and expedited review. I mean, expedited review is actually exists as a thing, I mean, if somebody's replacing windows, they can get an expedited review. Remember, Dennis, we listed all those things.
yeah, so that's one of your policies. Yeah.
That's one of our policies.
Yeah,
Right.
so I can give that to you.
I mean, you pass a property and you see they're replacing all the windows and you think to yourself, my God, we haven't seen that on planning board. Well, it's because they comply with a expedited review ingredient.
No, they actually complied with admin,
With
not your
admin.
expedited. You see expediteds. You
Right.
see all expediteds, yeah.
And
Admin is the
admin-
only way.
Just to be clear, admin is delegated through the town code. So if you
Right.
want to make changes, you can recommend changes to the town board as your legislators, but that is codified.
Right. I remember speaking to Janice about that and she showed me the requirements, what she has to do in order to do an admin.
It's not
So-
discretionary. It's not discretion.
It is a little bit discretionary in that if it meets the criteria and she still is not comfortable with it, she has the discretion to send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if she knows there's been violations on the property or something,
Well, I'll give you an example of an admin gone wrong. The new Carvel on the North Highway.
I was going to just say the same thing.
And now you have a commercial vehicle, basically a billboard, parked in the along the road to the shoulder that would have been picked up by this board, precluding, in other words, we would have had a condition precluding commercial lettered vehicles taking up those front parking spaces for overnight or over a 24-hour period. So now if you drive by there every day, there's basically a sign on the side of the road.
Yeah.
A Carvel truck.
Yeah, it's a Carvel truck parked strategically on the road on the
Acting
still
as a
can't do that.
sign, yeah.
I can still give them a violation for that. So that's not a problem. I'm writing it down. They're gonna get a violation because they can't do that. That's a billboard, as you say.
Why can't they do that?
Because you cannot, it's in the sign code. You can't park trucks like that.
Well, they're going to argue that it's ours. Well, their attorney's going to argue it's our vehicle and we're on our property and there's no prohibition against it. And he's going to make an argument to
If I'm unsuccessful, I'll let you know. So
We
I
had
can
a similar
try.
thing in Hampton Bays. There was a similar one in Hampton Bays and we couldn't do anything about it. They were parking two trucks that were basically advertisements. And we looked into it and they said you couldn't touch it. So I'm hope you do it and I hope you win.
Also the Veranda restaurant, they now have signs everywhere on the road about they have cheap breakfast and lunch. I go to that Federal Credit Union Bank in that shopping center.
Where is this, Gloria?
The
old crust.
The old crust.
Oh, yes, the old crust.
Yeah. So I see that, and then I go past Carvel and I see that. So I'm there like every other.
So may I go back? So if you're saying the admin is strictly by code, so excuse my improper use. So it's the expedited
review
policy?
Yeah.
Okay, and that you can send us in.
Yeah.
That you receive. It's your review. What it does is give, it's a one-step process. If someone's doing something, it's kind of obsolete in that we have admin now, but maybe it should be updated because it's from 2003, before admins. But we can take a look at it once I give it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should also look at the admin code. If you just tell us where it is, and we can go online and look at it to see.
330, 184.
What is it?
330, 184.
330,
184.
0.1.
330, 184.
Admin.
0.1.
0.1.
0.1, okay. And that resides in the hands of the head of the planning department, like in Janice's.
Right, town planning development administrator.
Town planning administrator, right.
So at least we can understand what it says. So.
Yeah. She has quite a few requirements that, thresholds that have to be met. So we'll get something on the work session policy, Claire. And
On the work session policy, yeah, that's my next thing when I see Janice. I'll ask her about it, okay?
Yeah.
Excellent.
She took notes on it, but
She did.
pulled it together.
But she's a very busy lady, so that doesn't hurt to remind her.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I discussed it with her, Jackie, after the last meeting.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We're out on time. Early.
It's 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
Happy
Gloria,
Thanksgiving.
second by Dennis. All in favor? We are adjourned. 6 in favor. We're